Yeah, we're live. Hey, Farty, how's it going?
Fuck.
Eh?
Fucking midweek. We're alive, unfortunately.
Farty, you could stand to sound a little less, I don't know, angry.
I'm too upset to be fucking angry. Just
um,
a massive fucking cunt.
yeah. The world is a vampire, Farty. Just remember that.
Well, where the fuck is Buffy then?
Exactly. It just goes to show you that vampire slayers don't actually exist.
No, they do exist. She's just not fucking doing her job anymore.
It was because she died, remember?
Mhm.
It was because she
Well,
died, and then she stopped wanting to do things, and then you know, she didn't do things for a whole season, and
well,
then
Jesus, but didn't fucking Rupert Giles turn full ripper after fucking Sunnydale fucking went fucking sideways? He went to fucking England, married some old bloody Sheila, bought a football team and turned into fucking bloody Emperor Palpatine.
yeah,
Changed his last name from Giles to Mannion.
yeah, and that's because he wanted to be like Charles Manson. Wasn't his name Charles in that show?
No, Rupert.
Rupert.
Rupert Giles.
No, I'm talking about in the in Ted Lasso. Wasn't his name Charles?
No, Rupert Mannion.
Was it
That's the
Rupert?
thing. It's the same fucking first name. That's the thing. So it's like Rupert and
Oh
fucking.
shit! I
It's Rupert and Ted Lasso. It's sort of like, yeah, Jesus Christ, Ripper went real fucking sideways after fucking Sunnydale.
So I had a problem with Ted Lasso. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
So I thought the first season of Ted Lasso was great. It was a great first season, and they lost me in season two. I tried to sit through season two. I actually forced myself to sit through season two, and by the end of it, I will not watch season three. I will not fucking watch it, Farty. Um, the reason was so season one is really good. How about you tell the folks at home what Ted Lasso is about?
Right. Well, there's actually a couple of different storylines that run congruently with this, and some of them actually don't get mentioned, but it's there. So basically, the story is during a divorce, this woman called Rebecca fucking gets this soccer team off her husband as part of the divorce settlement. Now, this soccer team is supposed to be like the thing that her ex-husband like absolutely positively loves to death for as long as she's ever known him, right? So effectively, what she's going to do now is go and basically destroy the team and ruin it, basically just to spite her ex-husband. Now, here's where a couple of the different storylines come in, because you could see that there was a bit of a storyline where they were trying to make Rupert out to be like a complete narcissistic fuckwit, like stalking fucking, mind game playing fucking manipulative fucking prick, right? But the point is, everybody else fucking in the rest of the world sees him as like, this real great person. But it's only like people in the inner circle who actually know what he's really fucking like, know that he's an absolute cunt. So they were putting in bits with that where every time Rupert be like in the same fucking vicinity as Rebecca, he always put these snide sort of remarks like, "Oh, you brave wearing that dress, especially looking like that or something like that." It's just a little tiny niggling little fucking thing just to get in the back of her head and just keep her fucking pissed off. Now, this was going to lead to pretty much another storyline about domestic violence and all this, but I don't know why, but they seem to have abandoned it. Where basically, like, ruining the team would have spited everybody but Rupert, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And there was
Yeah,
this.
because at the time he still owns half the team, and he does so up until like the end of the first season, I think.
Yeah, when they well, yeah, he sells off, but that is part of it as well. So, what he was effectively going to do was let her destroy the team, and then at a point where she was never going to be able to save it anymore, he would just go, "Oh, I didn't give a fuck about that," and buys another team. Now that she's left with all of this, and the whole point was that he was trying to get her into a position where she'd basically burn everything, become completely fucking broke and destitute, and have basically the investors of the team and maybe the team itself and the shareholders and stuff
Yeah,
like
he
that
was
go
trying
up.
to destroy her from like the word go.
Yeah, pretty much. And basically, his ultimate goal was to have her come back crawling up to him, asking for a handout or something like that after everything had failed. So that was one storyline that they'd abandoned. I can't remember the other one, but effectively, the storyline that they did go with was that she got this American football coach in to teach the British people how to play soccer, and well, that kind of ended up going nowhere near as bad as what Rebecca thought, because it turns out that Ted's actually a fucking good instructor, and he's one of these people that you learn shit off just by hanging around him, and she's trying to basically sabotage him at every fucking turn, but he's one of these Mr. Magoo types that, he wins just by somehow avoiding whatever the fucking thing that's being subjected onto him. Not through smarts or anything like that. He's not physically dodging it. It's just sort of he's just moseying through his life, and all this shit's happening around him. And it's not really affecting him because some cunt's trying to get at him here, but then something else happens, and then that sort of nullifies that. Anyway, at the end of the first season, she finally comes clean and says, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm trying to ruin the team. I basically just fucked you around for a year. If you hate me guts and want to go to the press, by all means. If you want to go home straight away, yeah, cool, no worries, I fucking understand." And Ted's basically forgiven her. And he understands because in the first season, he's also going through a divorce from his wife, and then it turns out that that was another storyline that they were going to look into as well, which was the whole grass cutting aspect of it, because it turns out, right, that fucking this marriage counselor was speaking to the wife first, and then brought in Ted and was doing some very unorthodox things, like not having Ted have his own shrink, but basically having him as a prop to use him as a whipping tool to show his wife basically how much of a piece of shit her husband is.
Yeah.
And, basically fucking with her head, making out that Ted's a cunt. So he thinks he's a fucking problem there, not realising that what this bloke's doing is turning her against him just so he can cut her grass. And yeah, sort of in season 3, there's a little bit of a thing there where their politics start getting in, sort of it's a bit fucking tone deaf, fellas.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because by the time when we get into season 2, it's a completely different vibe. Like season 2 is just full on gender politics and bullshit of the same and it drags the story down so
not just that
much.
It was more jumping on the woke the flavor of the month bandwagon, pretty much.
Yeah, and it just drags everything down, and it just does not help the story. I'm sorry.
No, I do agree there. It did start getting fucking preachy and shit, and there was that episode where Sam opened his restaurant, and then his dad's supposed to be coming over to visit, and they were talking about the immigration, and that one's a perfect example of their fucking tone deafness, because well shit, that age fucking stale milk already,
Yeah.
The one of the cooks in Sam's restaurant exclaims, "Oh, fucking bitch!" And he's like, "Oh, what is wrong?" He's like, "Oh, this fucking bitch won't let the fucking migrants in." It's sort of yes, there's a fucking reason for it, sweetheart. 2 years down the track, you can fucking see it for yourself. Even the Yanks don't fucking want them anymore.
Yeah.
Bloody, and
just. And what about that? couple episodes where the fucking, oh, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but there's those couple episodes where the one guy is like building the Nigerian or whatever fucking football team, and he's all like,
Yeah,
"I want you to come, play for me," and he's like, "Okay, I'll think about it," and he does
Edward the
all this shit to like, "Oh, I brought in all these people just to, have, give you lunch, and I'm all this powerful guy, and look at what I can do for you." And all of a sudden, he's like, I got to turn you down. And then he starts losing his shit.
Edwina the Fufu.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, with the fucking immigration one, they were making out as if like the migrants were allowed to be going there. It was like they're basically carrying on like Sam's dad was going to be stopped at the airport and turned around, even though he's applied for a proper visa and he's coming into the country in all the correct manner and all this
Right,
kind
he's
of stuff.
doing everything legal. Yeah, and they make that.
The politician's going to throw Sam's dad out because, he's the same as the boat people. No, you fucking idiots. It's two different fucking things, you tone-deaf fucking cunts.
Yeah, that didn't annoy me as much as fucking that one couple breaking up at the end of the season. For no fucking reason. For no reason. They're just like, well, we're just gonna break up. Okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks for, nobody is happy in this series. Nobody has a stable, happy relationship in this series. And then when you show the one couple that actually does have a stable, happy relationship, it's somehow toxic. We got to break it up for no fucking reason.
What about Higgins?
Yeah, but he's a side character.
Yeah, he's the only one that actually has like a wife and kids and shit.
Yeah, and they go out of their way to push him into the background. They go out of their way, like the show goes out of its way to make sure you don't see a lot of him, except for that episode where they go to fucking Holland or whatever, Amsterdam or whatever, and he like drags his kid to the fucking to the jazz bar.
Yeah. And then the kid gets a threesome off a fucking random couple.
Yeah. And it was like, how do we turn this wholesome family moment into... No. Season 2 was the worst crime ever committed to that show. Because, like you said, like they had 3 very strong story arcs that they were working with in the first season. And they were really strong. You had... And don't get me started on the fucking nonsense betrayal of what's-his-face, because he was too emotionally fragile to just go, oh, maybe... We'll get on that. We'll get on that later. Fucking had the... Right, the three storylines that were going on that were actually really strong. And I fucking hate shows that go off on the, okay, well, we're going to tell this story, and then we're going to tell this story, and then we're going to tell this story all at the same time, and none of them are going to get enough screen time for you to actually know what's going on and to actually give a shit. I actually gave a shit. I was actually invested. Season 1 of Ted Lasso was the first and only time I have ever been able to follow several storylines going on at once that actually progressed the story and actually did some fucking thing, right? So you had the whole football club failure plan. You had the American football coach playing, football in a different country that, the whole rest of the world calls football and not American football, and he's a laughingstock, he's a joke, but, he's got spunk and spark, and he's going through this divorce, which was the other thread in that show. Like, his divorce was like a whole thread throughout the whole show. So you have these 3 very personal, very like themes going on, and they're running alongside each other, and they relate to each other because there's a central theme, and the central theme is love and divorce, right? And it is simultaneously the best and worst part of the show. And I say it's the best and worst parts of the show because the whole, like, it is depressing, right? It is a downer, and it is about new experiences and you know, and separating yourself from this this baggage, right? Like the entire first season is depressing and it is hard to get through. And as like, I don't know how you feel about this, Farty, but as someone who, you know, has separation issues, someone who goes through separation anxiety, someone who um and this is because of um my personal shit that I grew up with, is I did not grow up in a stable family environment. Okay, I was in foster care, and that led to a lot of like getting attached to people, and then, you know, the next day not being around them, and then getting attached to new people, and then the next day not being around them, and wondering when the fuck, you know, stability is gonna happen. Right? That was my life up until I turned 18, and from my perspective, watching Ted Lasso was like, oh, you know, here he's going through all this hardship, and I could relate to this, right? I was able to relate to the separation bullshit going on, and like he is really fucking well adjusted, and going and giving him the PTSD bullshit trauma that they gave him in season 2, that's, you know, that felt like an insult to his character, right? A lot of what they did in season 1, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, and I'll go back to the main point here, but a lot of what they do in season 2 is they just take the worst parts of season 1 and they amplify those parts. In season 1, again, you had this story tied together by this theme of love and loss and of separation and starting anew, right? And there's everybody in this show that is a main character. We're talking the football club owners who are, you know, starting over, and we're talking about Ted Lasso, who's also starting over, right? Everyone else on the team is just kind of a prop to tell this story. And it's done in such a way that doesn't disrespect the characters of the show, right? Like the characters that Ted is now introduced to, the people that he is what's the word I'm looking for? That he's starting to bond with, right? These people that he looks to for help in learning this new trade, right? Because American football and football are two vastly different sports. Yeah, they have the same goal. The way they're played, the way they're strategized, vastly fucking different. Because one sport, you have...
The other one's hand egg.
Yeah, so one you have really, you know, really strict control over until someone stops you, right? The other one, you don't have any fucking control. That ball's going to go, like, you can control the ball to an extent when you're, because I've played soccer, right? So you can...
So did I when I was a kid, and I was a bad fucking sportsman.
Yeah. But,
well,
like...
So every time we were fucking trying, like, we would play the one team Balmain never wore shin pads, so I knew that, so I'd go and kick him in the shin.
Oh my god. I actually got my cleats stuck in someone's shin once.
Mm.
They are, after that little incident, we never played on rainy days again. Like, even if there was a little bit of dew on the grass, we didn't play. And we had to switch to god-awful rubber cleats.
Mm.
And I tell you, rubber cleats, they do not stick to the ground as well. So what happened was, and this is a side story for everyone, a little bit of a side quest. My cleats got stuck into someone's leg when I went to go for a slide tackle, and I had gained enough momentum where I slid across the fucking grass for a little while, and had too much speed when I came in because the grass was wet, and I fucking took this guy out, Um, he ended up with a sprained ankle because of the angle impact. That shit happens in fucking soccer all the time.
Hmm.
Um, Ended up with a sprained ankle. My cleat stuck in his shin bone, right? To the point where it was so like lodged in there that they had to remove my foot from the shoe to get him to the hospital.
I kind of know how that feels.
Yeah.
Not in my shins, but in my head.
Yeah.
We were playing touch footy one night at the depot, and for some reason I still had my bloody beret on. I went to go dive on the ball, and someone got in the road, and I went head first into their fucking knee,
Mm-hmm.
and the hat badge fucking it collapsed the clasps at the behind the fucking the thing, and the two spikes that fucking the hat badge just went straight in my fucking head. Getting up, and my beret's fucking like hanging, upside down over me bloody face. It's hanging off my head by these two fucking pins. I'm like, oh, fuck, that hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Um. So. So yeah. So that was a little side quest for you guys. It was a little bit of fun. But why is Aqua trending? Hang on, I'm gonna read this, but um. Oh, okay. So it's an anime thing. Never mind. All right. But yeah. So like I said, it's both simultaneously the best and the worst part of the show. It's the best part of season one because these characters are actually making progress. Right? They're actually moving forward. They're actually, well fleshed out human beings with, you know, maybe they're not the most well-adjusted human beings, as is the world we live in, but everything made sense. Everything was written well. And then they got a whole new team of writers for season 2 to cut costs on the show.
Well, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, they had a whole new team of writers for season 2 who watch the first couple of episodes and go, you know what? Why don't we just make the coach, have a mental illness? And
Well,
then
that
the
I can
whole.
kind yeah, I kind of get a bit that way myself for like overseas. Even nowadays, when I have to go sort of different parts of the state for a couple of days, I get fucking antsy about not being home.
Yeah.
You do get this whole like, well, you are completely separated from what you're supposed to be normally doing, and there is this fucking niggling little thing in the back of your head, like, well, what are you doing here? You should be at home doing something else. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. And I can't really enjoy fucking overseas holidays like that. And thankfully, I haven't had many overseas holidays. Most of them have been work trips. Fucking so with his divorce, being not there to deal with it personally, dealing with it remotely whilst trying to not fucking make himself out to be a fucking fool in front of like an entirely different country. And then the first time when he had the panic attack was when Rebecca was singing "Let It Go" from Frozen, and Jesus Christ, that woman's got a fucking voice on her. But Jesus, yeah. And that's the kind of fucking symbolism music kind of shit that does fucking mess with my head sometimes. Like depending on what mood you're in, sort of not so much the words, but even just the way the song is sung. The tunes just sort of trigger the shit. But you could see like the symbolism in that little scene there, where he's starting to have the panic attack. She's saying, "Let it go, let it go."
Yeah.
Just fucking let your shit go. And it's that the metaphysical dichotomy of fucking, well, do I do this? Because if I do this, that's going to be this result, and that's a permanent sort of change. But if I go and fight this, well, that might fail, where I should have stayed here. What do I fucking do? I really need to be two places at once, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, I get that, but also at the same time, like there was no reason for him to develop that much of a stress reaction. Like yeah, I get that it's stressful moving to a different country, but he was a well-adjusted human being, right?
Yeah.
And so if your whole thing is like if the story you're trying to tell is even the most well-adjusted of us can, break down that much in such a short
Oh,
amount of
yeah.
time. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I
if
can
that's
believe that.
I
Totally
I can
fucking.
believe it too, but if that's the story you're trying to tell, there's a more effective way of doing that. Maybe just focus on Ted. Because in the background, we don't know what's going on, right? When we're not following Ted. In season 2, we have 6 other storylines that are now competing for attention. We've got the storyline where what's her name is dealing with the breakup of the first season, and now she's gay for some reason. Um, there's the whole my kid is a teenage activist, right? Like his son is some sort of teenage activist. Like
Yeah,
that's the
that fucking is
very
what
first
you
fucking scene you see in season 2.
yeah. Oh, you're happy to go back home to my country? Yes. To my political situation? No. Oh,
Yeah.
shut up, you little cunt. Get on the fucking plane.
Dude, you're fucking 8 years old. You don't know what the fuck is going on. Put a dildo in it and fucking go home.
I
Um
should actually correct that retaliation to that little thing. It should be, listen here, you dumb bitch, slutbag, fucking writer woman. Cut your fucking stupid green hair off. Go fucking have a fucking shower and stop fucking pointing your opinions at. You've proven the point where we didn't want women to be in a workplace. Have a fucking vote. Be in politics. Fucking or have an opinion.
yeah.
Congratulations, kid.
Um Dester's in the chat. He's surprised that we're streaming live on a Wednesday morning. Wednesday night for Farty.
Yeah,
Um, and he said he probably won't be on long because he's at work.
that's all
But
right.
Concord,
You can always watch it later.
yeah, well, this will be up on YouTube for as long as they allow it. Um, but he says Concord is rapidly approaching single-digit numbers. I did notice that. We will be talking about that a little later on. And in regards to Ted Lasso season 2, yes, they are going too many directions at once. And this is the problem with Marvel shit. Everyone thinks that it's great, it's clever, it's fantastic writing to go have more directions than an epileptic fucking.
Well, phase one was done right because they introduced the characters in their own individual things, and then once we got to know everybody, then they smashed them all together, and then we got the okay, right, so cool, and then we can add a couple of more. But then after was it phase 3 when was it Endgame? They just went, here's a whole metric fuck ton of new characters, and we're just going to go straight in without any backstory, and yeah, you're going to have to know all of this shit. And that was another thing that threw me off the MCU. Game was the end game for me, kind of thing, because they just started bringing all this other fucking shit from the MCU that I really am not interested in.
Yeah. Another problem with modern cinema is they refuse to let silence speak. Yeah, you can't. There are moments, and this. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about this a little after the whole Ted Lasso thing because I do want to get this off of my chest. But I want to get back to the crux of the point that I was trying to make. There was a more effective way to tell the story, but instead you're telling the story of how how this lady's questioning her sexuality now, and she's not dealing with the breakup. She's just questioning her sexuality because we broke up for no reason at the end of season 1, which is the last couple of episodes in the first season of Ted Lasso are where everything starts to become a train wreck. The last couple of seasons, you see Nathan leaving the football club, and tearing down the Believe sign, right, that Ted put up for everyone. And he tears it up and he storms out like a little baby bitch. All because Ted Lasso is a fucking busy man who can't pay attention to every fucking little detail all the fucking time. And I'm like, yes, I get it if you have some sort of disorder where, like an attachment disorder. I get it. Trust me, I fucking get it. But this is the wrong way to portray it. It is the wrong way to portray it. What's that, Farty?
I guess what sort of is different to me is I didn't actually watch the entire thing in its entirety. I basically have pieced the entire 3 seasons together from like reaction videos on YouTube.
Oh, I watched the first 2 seasons. Like I watched them from start to finish. I will not watch season 3. I won't do it. I don't care about season 3. Um, the show died to me. So I'll walk through what's going on. There's Nathan, right? The fucking he
Oh,
becomes
well, I've pieced enough of the thing together to basically have seen the whole thing. There's only
yeah.
like a few random scenes here and there, like because some of the reaction mobs did different scenes to the other reaction mobs. So like I saw like 30% of it from this mob, and I saw another 30% of it from this mob, and most of everything from the last two from the next one, but a little bit from them, and then another one had scenes that I didn't see before. So I kind of pretty much already have seen it, but it's not have been one chronological sort of thing.
Okay. Then I won't go into the fine, minute stuff then. I'll just keep it to the basics.
Still be that. Because even with Nate, and you brought up Nate, there was a storyline they could have done there. And it would have been fucking brilliant too, because no one's ever done this part of it. The bully being bullied into being a bully.
Yeah. And it could have been great, but no. What do we get? He like finally sacks up, he storms out and decides for himself a new direction to go in life. And then in season 2 we find him being a squirrely little fucking spindly, snivelly fucking same bullshit, different channel. You know? And I hated that. They like took everything good about season 1 and they threw it out the window for season 2. I will not watch season 3 because they probably double down on everything. And that's just speculation, but because of the way they wrote season 2 and they wrote the end of season 1, where all of the shit in season 1 didn't make sense, there's no way they could not have just kept doubling down on the bad writing. So season 1 comes to an end. You get that breakup, which is antithetical to the entire storyline they were setting up in the first half of the show. That completely like sidelines everything else in terms of the progression of the story. So those themes, and getting back to what I was trying to talk about earlier, is those themes of love and loss and just trying to move on after everything else. They continue the theme of loss without ever exploring maybe there's a different option. And maybe these two could have stayed together because they broke up literally for no reason. And you had the kid who was speaking for the audience, mind you. Like there's this little kid that I think is the dude, like this
Roy's niece.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was his sister, but it's his niece. He's taking care of his niece because her parents died or some shit, and fucking she's like, hey, if you guys love each other and neither one of you are moving away and neither one of you are doing this or that or the other thing, why are you breaking up? He had no response. He didn't need to break up with her. She didn't want him to break up with her. She did not want to break up with him. As far as I can tell, they were on track to get married and settle down.
Well, they kind of do end up getting back together at the end of season 3.
Yeah, but I can't be fucked to sit through a whole season of her struggling with her identity and just to go, oh, okay, maybe I, love him this much and blah, blah, blah. I can't be bothered to sit through an entire, and it's not even an entire season. It's a few scenes throughout an entire season 2 where she gets drunk, she has this, she has that, and instead of taking time to just fucking figure shit out and to go through the steps of like figuring shit out. She does, like, the entire show is mental illness, the show. That's fine. There's a certain way to go about doing it that doesn't insult the intelligence of the viewer. And this show, after a certain point, insults the intelligence of the viewer.
One other instance that I thought was actually quite good that they fucked up and didn't follow through with was the whole Nate, and I just realised now, I didn't fucking say it right. It's not the bully being bullied into being a bully. It's a fucking bullied person that's been empowered.
Yeah.
And I know from experience that is one of the worst fucking things you can ever fucking do. And mainly because you turn them into an even bigger fucking asshole than the asshole for being an asshole to him. For the simple reason, right? A bully, right, only does it because it's fun or entertaining. Once it stops being fun or entertaining, they'll fucking give up and leave you alone until they get bored again.
Yeah.
But when you empower someone who's been bullied, who's never had a retaliation or anything like that, they don't have that fucking... It's never been fun for them. It's always been fucking horrible. So when they're delivering their retribution, it's always overboard. It's always everything all at once. It's always, you got to get all of these years of fucking torment out right fucking now. And if you're the one that's empowered this person, you're pretty much going to be the person that's going to have to knock them off their fucking pedestal again.
Yeah.
Like, breaking out. So effectively, in that instance, it's better to just fucking get a bully to out-bully the fucking bully that's bullying the other cunt. Because at least then it'll be a measured response, and it'll be a case of like two knuckleheads going at each other, and it's like, yeah, right, there's me point. Fuck off, leave him alone.
Yeah. I agree with you, and that was kind of what I was gonna circle back to, was they do this whole Nate arc, right? And they go like, why didn't they have a scene where Ted chin checks fucking? Why didn't they do it? Why didn't they do the part where he puts him back in his place, where he reminds Nate that he was nobody, like, and you see that Ted has these streaks, right, of like being the tough love kind of guy, right? He's the happy-go-lucky whatever, but he's also tough love when he needs to be, and you see that in season 1. And so when they just let Nate storm off, right, instead of Ted going, hey, look, I gave you this job because I thought you could handle it. I gave you this job because I need you, someone who actually knows the pitch, and someone, because he was the grass cutter basically. He was the lawn mower, right?
The undie washer.
Yeah, he knew the team inside and out, and he needed that line, right? Throughout, even after Nate left, even after he had already earned the team's respect, he still needed that line. That line of communication between him and the players, right? He still needed that tether, right, to keep him grounded. And you see that he's kind of like too busy. There's this one scene that comes out of nowhere. This literally comes out of nowhere, where Nate just like blows his top on this one instance where Ted is really busy with something. And he just throws a fucking tantrum like a fucking 4-year-old. And instead of trying to... And like the guys in the club were, again, in season 2, the guys in the club were being the voice of the audience going, hey, maybe, perhaps, you should go talk to Nate. And he refused to do it. So now we go from having this well-adjusted, like, everyone, things suck, but we'll turn it around mentality, which is completely antithetical, to my mentality. My mentality is that everything just fucking sucks. He is that person who's the ever optimist. And maybe this took him down a few pegs, whatever. This whole experience took him down a few pegs, especially when he learned his wife was cheating on him with his fucking therapist. And that's a whole nother fucking story arc that we find out in season 2. There's 6 different fucking stories that are going on. There's and I don't want to go back and try to fucking unravel those threads again. You did good to pull me off of that topic, Farty, but yeah, there's no reason. There's none. It's just all right. Continuing. He just gives up. Ted Lasso gives up. The ever optimist gives up. And that's why season 2 is such nothing in season 2 makes sense. You don't take a guy like Ted Lasso and make him just give up. Because if he just gave up, he would never have taken the fucking soccer job. Across the fucking... Huh?
It kind of actually pushed to, like, one of the reactors, George from fucking Cinebinge.
Okay.
And when Nate had his blow up and told off Ted and fucking, he explained it in a way that it made a lot more sense to me in my own fucking situation, because I sit and ruminate and shit for fucking days sometimes, and if I've got appointments, and especially if it's an appointment with someone I don't really want to fucking talk to, I'll be sitting here ruminating over all the different scenarios of what's going to happen, and I always expect it to go fucking sideways or south, so that ends up being fucking angry arguments in my fucking head and all this kind of bloody shit. Maybe it keeps me up all the time. Now, George was saying that fucking Nate's doing the same bloody thing. There is no communication, and Nate's just sitting there thinking this bad thing, that bad thing, this bad thing, and no one's fucking telling him otherwise. So that's just sort of confirming. And he's having all of these ruminating arguments in his head of like, what he's going to say when this happens, and what he's going to say when that happens, and blah, 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 blah. So basically, when me and Nate end up going to that person, we're just abusing the fuck out of him because we've already had 1,000 fucking fights. And this cunt just doesn't know what's going on because, well, they're just showing up and they don't know that we've already had 1,000 fucking fights together. I've already fucking made the case where I can kill you, sunshine. I'm ready to fucking punch your fucking face in before you even say anything, son.
No, I agree with you on that front. I'm just saying from the, like, the Nate character is one thing, but because of all the shit that, like, you see him being bullied by the club, like, nonstop until about maybe 2/3 of the way into the first season, when Nate finally starts getting respect. My point of contention is Ted all of a sudden giving up in the second season. When we see him in episode 1, he's just given up, and like there's no spark to the character, and it makes absolutely no sense to me from a writing standpoint. Because, like, even at the lowest point in season 1, he's still optimistic. He's still cheery. And the writing in his private moments, because about the only private moments we get to see in the show are with Ted, are with what's her name, the owner, and then sometimes we get to see private moments of the team captain.
Yeah. Him and Beard do have a few scenes together though.
What's that?
Ted and Beard have a few.
Yeah, Beard. Together. I forgot about Beard completely. How the fuck did I forget about Beard?
Well, that's the kind of thing that, like, I think the second last episode, you find out all about Beard, and it's actually quite fucking interesting.
In season 2, you mean?
No, end of season 3.
Okay. I didn't watch season 3, right? So you're going to have to fill me in on this.
They do the fucking wanky fucking, Nate's gone off and done his thing, and he's found out that's actually pretty fucking wrong, so he ends up leaving the other team, ends up going to that Greek restaurant, working there, shacking up with the bird that's fucking behind the counter there. She ends up fucking turning out to be quite supportive and all this kind of stuff. And then it's the team that want him back. So there's like a couple of the team members come into the Greek restaurant and they look for him and like, oh yeah, we kind of want you back. And he's like, well, what's Ted say about it? It's like, we actually haven't asked Ted yet. We wanted to see if he actually wanted to come back first.
Yeah.
And then they go back to Ted and say, well, we kind of want buddy Nathan back. And Beard's just like, over my fucking dead body. And basically, a little bit later, Ted has one of those fucking long-winded fucking bloody pseudo-lesson fucking speleo things that, is designed to make you think and come to a realization and all this kind of fucking shit. And then Beard goes over to Nate's place to actually officially offer him the job back. Mm-hmm. And that's where you hear fucking that Ted and Beard were mates in high school. Mm-hmm. And then when they left, Beard stole Ted's car and I think he crashed it. Fucking, and instead of pressing charges, Ted come down, fucking basically talked the cops off, got him out of it. And then Beard repaid him by stealing a fuck ton of money and buying a fuck ton of meth and all this kind of stuff. And then, he ended up going to jail for a bit. And then basically as soon as he got out, he thought, fuck it, I'll give Ted another go. And, well, Ted gave him a go and he's basically been by his side ever since.
Yeah.
There's that story, of course, but sort of like, well, that explains Beard. I wish they'd fucking said something earlier. Anyway, so there is the kind of like fucking chin check kind of thing, but it's this wanky fucking. He says, "Oh, you sure you don't want to headbutt me or something?" And he's just like, "All right." He walks up right close. He grabs, hand either side of his cheek and just slowly pulls his head in. They just touch foreheads together and 8 o'clock Monday morning, okay? And then walks off. So yeah, that was a bit wanky.
Yeah, that seems out of character for Beard. Beard would be the guy to punch you in the face and then buy you a beer right afterwards.
Yeah, well, that spiel that fucking Ted gave basically was vaguely like, hey, you remember all those times I gave you a second chance? And then walks out the room.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Beard's like, fuck, I suppose I've got to give Nathan a second chance then, huh?
Well, you have officially sealed the fate of season 3 for me. I will not watch season 3 now. Long story short, I still stand on the point that I was trying to get at earlier, is that Ted Lasso should have been a show about dealing with loss instead of going further and deeper into loss. And don't get me started on that whole fucking useless crutch that Ted takes on in season 2 after fighting the useless crutch in season 2. You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Vardy?
Useless crutch.
The therapist.
Oh, yeah.
She is absolutely fucking useless. Anyone who has been through any amount of fucking therapy knows that she was just fucking dealing out platitudes. The character got one thing right, and that was the boundaries thing. The boundaries thing is the one thing the character got right. But she doesn't acknowledge Ted one single fucking bit until she gets hit by a fucking car on her bicycle on her way to work.
While she's abusing everybody.
While she is abusing everybody. Thank you, Farty.
Because no shit, they paint her out to be this like really placid, has no fucking personality, and all this like very calm and very centered and all this. And then in one episode they show her riding to work on a bike and she's telling some bloke off with walking his dog and fucking said something to some other person and then fucking run straight into a bloody car. And it's sort of like, how'd you fucking hit the car? You're on a bike, sweetheart.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is just fucking stupidity stacked on top of stupidity, stacked on top of more stupidity. And she's absolutely useless in the end. She's absolutely useless in the end because she ends up leaving the team mid-job to take a different job.
Oh, well, yeah, you're going to hate it in season 3 because they keep her on like she's on the fucking phone.
For fuck's sake. This is kind of the reverse Holly situation, isn't it? Because, like, remember in Red Dwarf, the guy, Norman Lovett, the guy that played Holly, was like, he was just supposed to be a voice actor for the ship's computer. All we want is a voice. And and Doug Naylor was like, no, we don't want you to be on screen. He's like, well, you need some sort of visual attachment to the character. And eventually they relented, and they agreed to like a 50-50 split. And then the audience responded well to Holly being like seen, so that, you know, in season 2, season 3, they did more of it, more of Holly being on screen. But because Norman Lovett was such a fucking whinger, they fucking got Hattie Hayridge to replace him in season 3. And season 3 was essentially a completely different show with completely different set and completely different storyline, other than let's get Dave back to Earth. Sorry I went on that tangent there. That's just the way I feel about it. But fuck me, dude. It's the reverse situation of that. If she had to have been like, you know, I don't want to be seen on camera anymore. I still want the job, but I don't want to be seen on camera.
No. They'll see her on camera. In fact, they give her a fucking love interest too, which is actually quite a disturbing fucking scene.
Christ.
There's one part where they're having a phone conversation and they're doing the back and forward. So when he's talking, you see him. When she's talking, you see her. And then they both hang up and they stick with her. And then she turns around, walks to a room, opens the door, and there's some fucking hunt line in the bed. Like, oh, I thought, you know, he says some fucking thing. And she goes, oh, no, not yet. And takes off her bloody robe. And it's like,
yeah, God damn. Stop telling me about season 3, because the more you tell me about it, the more I will never watch it. I'm going to watch it so never that the universe will reignite. Fuck me, dude.
There's the part where Keely and Roy break up.
Mm-hmm.
And she's wearing that pink thing and her hair's all slicked back and all this. I keep flashing back to a scene in a porno where there's a Sheila getting a bukkake that kind of looks a bit like that.
Oh my god. Party goes right to porn.
It's not my bloody fault I've seen that scene before. It's like, hang on, is she covered in spoof or what?
Yeah.
And she's kind of glossy too, so it does make it look like they glazed her.
Party, you fuck.
Well, she must have stuck her head in the same bucket the fucking horse jizz that fucking bloody Tim Waltz fucking drank out of, because it's all through her hair and everything.
God, I am
she
fucking...
looked like she was using jizz as hair gel.
Yeah, I'm fucking hungry, dude. You know what I want right now? You know what I really could go for right now? Is a fucking corned beef sandwich.
Yeah, it's weird.
Huh.
I fucking kill for some American mac and cheese right now.
Oh, really? Some, like, a box of Kraft?
I don't know about that, but fucking, like, any mac and cheese you can get from fucking basically anywhere in America is a million times more fucking flavour than the shit you get out here. So we got Kraft mac and cheese out here,
which is hilarious because, like, the Kraft mac and cheese that we have out here, it's hilarious because that doesn't have any flavor to me.
Well, neither out here either. But, like, I also know that you guys stick, like, half a chunk of fucking Velveeta in it as well. We don't do that out here.
Oh, you want, like, Velveeta shells and cheese?
Oh, fuck. Like, the really fucking strong cheese taste that you have in it. Like,
yeah, that would be the Velveeta shells and cheese stuff. That stuff is delicious sometimes. Like, I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's kind of, like, bitter for me. But sometimes it's fucking great. Especially if you get some fucking Spam and you fry it up. You fry the Spam up and you cut it into little chunks and you throw it into the... Oh my god, dude. Okay, I'm done. I need some fucking...
you Well, they did used to have this stuff which was kind of like a mac and cheese, but it was like you had tomato and bacon flavour, like cheese, tomato, and bacon flavour, and bacon flavoured. Like it was really fucking yummy. Like you had a whole bloody serving of it. Like it's fucking.
Oh, that sounds like Hamburger Helper.
No, well, not this stuff. But it used to make me fart like fucking you wouldn't fucking believe. Like, yeah, holy bloody shit. Like, and these were fucking potent too, right? These were ones that you could fucking chew,
Yeah.
right? These were ones that, like, you had to move apart to fucking get through. Like, any fucking more substance and it'd be a turd. Anyway, fucking, so cut to one weekend, a bunch of us are going down the Narrow to do some parachuting.
Uh-huh.
And we're all in the back of this fucking Land Cruiser troop carrier. And every 5 minutes, I'm dropping one that makes everyone almost want to jump out the fucking window. Away, and then all of a sudden, fucking all the back windows, they'll slide open. It's like, oh, fucking hell.
Oh, my
and then
God.
they'd give it a couple of minutes and then shut the windows and they'd just sit there and then they'd just start giggling like, oh, fucking hell, Macca. All the way to Nowra. That's over 100 fucking Ks.
Wait, what did they call you?
Macca.
Macca, like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know why. Okay, I know. I remember why. Never mind. I won't say anything.
Mm.
I won't dox you, buddy. I still have your old contact information sitting on my fridge.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna call you a couple months before we started streaming again. I was gonna call you, and then I tried to, and I'm like, this number. It was like, you know how when you try to call international and you don't have international on your phone. It was that. It was like you can't dial out to this country because that's not part of your plan. I'm like, fuck. I'm taking that's not the same address either that you have anymore, right?
No, it's fine. Oh, the email address.
No, the physical snail mail address.
Oh no, that's the same.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I might have to send you a care package. I tried sending you beer, but it got fucking sent back to me.
Yeah.
I tried sending you a box of beer, and it got sent back to me. And it's like,
that was probably the Australian customs looking at us like, what's this fucking yank shit? Get out of here. We got your ass up.
It got sent back to me a week after I mailed it out because it was like, we cannot. It is against like regulation or whatever. Like I almost got fined. Because apparently it's illegal. They're like, we're sending this back to you. Like whoever wrote the message, like there was a little note left in the box, and they're like, look, just don't try this again. We got to deal with this shit all the time. You could be fined next time you do this. You could face jail time. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize this shit was serious. So yeah.
Give me the address of where to contact these cunts, and I'll write them a letter saying, "Where's my fucking beer, cunt?"
Oh man, it was a couple years ago that I tried sending it out. It was like while we were still doing the Friday night streams.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it was like a week after I got that camera you sent me. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're trying to do something nice for you and send you something back. And this is through the height of the bullshit that I was going through. And I'm like, well, at least I gotta, try to, do something nice for my friends. Because he was looking out for me because, camera, gotta have a camera.
Right. All I needed was your appreciation. You already done that, so it's all right. Fucking
Farty, listen.
I wasn't expecting anything in return, anyways. It's just sort of like, well, you need a camera. You have a camera.
I know, and then, like my whole fixation with the camera was like, if you remember from back then, if anybody watching is still from those old days, there was a fixation for me to be on camera all the fucking time, and now it's just I don't care. Here's some shit I animated. Have fun watching these fuckers bounce around, for no reason. Uh,
His
um,
voice, because I don't know what to look at my own fucking face, so I don't think anyone else would like the look of it either. So I don't feel I should subject them to that.
yeah. So I just don't really care as much anymore. Like I've let myself go. Okay, I've let myself go. I'm almost 300 pounds now. All I do is fucking sleep and eat. That's all I do. I'm like a fucking rabbit. I sleep, eat, and shit. And I'm like, I can't even say rabbit because rabbits get laid.
Hmm.
Um, and that hasn't been me in a while now. So whatever. Fuck it. Um, my brain just fucking switched off, Farty.
Yeah, no, I know how you feel. Like I got fucking video showing me face on YouTube. You want to do it? I'll just go through me fucking videos. We'll past that point of like when I first started with YouTube, and I was wearing a shamar and sometimes a gas mask because I'd lose the shamar every now and then.
Yeah.
That was only realistically just to piss the truthers off, because yeah, sort of quickly found out that they'd give you lots and lots of shit for not showing your face. Shut your face, get out. And like the thing was at the time, right? If you just go onto my channel, my face is in my profile picture there.
Yeah.
I've now changed it to the caution not to be operated by fuckwit sign.
Yeah.
Um, but back then, yeah, you could definitely do it. And I've only gotten rid of that because now there's videos with my face up there, and that's the only reason why I was doing it, just to fucking annoy the truthers.
Yeah. That one video where you're going off about the fucking ambulance services, from like 7, 8 years ago or whatever it was. Um,
Mm,
that one still has your face on it, but it's hilarious.
mm,
And if you guys want to see that video, head over to Ferdy's channel.
yeah,
I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're just gonna have to go look for it.
it's in there somewhere around the 700 something mark.
Yeah. uh,
Yeah,
again,
didn't think nothing much about making so many fucking videos until YouTube decided that they wanted me to demonetize all of them because fucking and they don't have a fucking demonetize all fucking button. So I had to sit there for
yeah,
fucking like 8.5 fucking hours physically fucking the going into the settings in each individual video and then fucking click that and click that. Yes, no, it's not for fucking kids. No, the whole fucking channel's not for bloody kids. Why have I got to set these fucking individual videos? Like, no, why can't
yeah.
that be an automatic?
I got to do that every time I start the stream. Oh, like, is this meant for children? Fuck no. They're swearing. At
Hmm.
the very least, they're swearing. At the very least, on a calm, serene stream. At the very least, they're swearing, and there's almost always sexual content. Almost always sexual content.
Well, I did a video several years ago when they did that fucking crackdown on like, the last Elsa Gate, whatever the fuck it was, bloody, and that's when they made us do all of this shit. I did a video basically saying, if you're underage and you're watching my videos, fuck off now. And if you're one of the parents of the kids who has watched my videos and you've got some fucking problems with it, you best shut the fuck up because I'll be calling the cops on you for fucking child abuse. You shouldn't be letting your fucking kids watching my fucking videos. They're not for fucking kids. I'll fucking things for fucking adults. And if you do let your fucking kids in on my fucking videos, then you're the one that's putting them in fucking danger, not fucking me, cunt.
Yeah. What the fuck, Farty? Do you? I I realize that we're having an actual discussion.
Hmm.
Um, but I was looking for something that I needed, and I found something that I didn't need.
What?
Okay, we're gonna play a game. We're gonna call it Guess That Sound. Are you ready?
Okay.
Guess that sound.
That's either a straw in a Macca's cup being pulled in and out of the lid,
Okay.
or uh, I don't know. That's actually what it sounded like.
Do you want it one more time? Is is the straw still your guess?
Oh, Lego being shuffled around in a fucking ice cream tub.
Very
Um,
close. Very, very close.
all right. 3D printed figurines being moved around in the plastic container.
No. Okay, so listen. That's the sound of a zipper. Um, this is an old GoPro like hard case that I have, and in it, God, maybe I should try and get this like filmed or something, or at least take a picture and send it to you. It is a GoPro bag that I have, a hard case bag that is filled with dice.
Yeah.
Dice. Oh, and there's a PSP camera in there. Holy shit. You remember the PSP, Farty?
Jesus. Well, that was a whole generation of consoles that I was a little bit too old for at that point.
Oh, I was a little older for it too, but I loved my PSP. I have one of each version of the PSP except for the Go. I love that fucking thing.
I think I was working 14 hours a day at the time when the PSP and all that shit came out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That had been like the Nintendo 3D or whatever it was.
The
It also
3DS,
came out
yeah.
3DS.
That came out
Yeah.
a while after the PSP though. The DS
Yeah,
came
well,
out.
all of that era, yeah, I was basically fucking stumbling out of bed at fucking 4 in the morning and somehow fucking not falling asleep on the way to work and then driving a truck for fucking bloody 13 hours, 12 to 13 hours, and another fucking hour drive home, fucking 8 o'clock at night or something like that.
Yeah.
So by the time I got home, I was only interested in fucking sitting watching TV and drinking.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Honestly,
what's that?
survived all of that. Honestly, don't know how I fucking survived all of that. Because a lot of people don't understand is like, I'm not fucking joking when I say that I've treated my body like a temple that's been raided by ISIS. Like,
Yeah.
I've fucking been fucking subjected to just about every poisonous fucking substance that doesn't fucking actually kill you straight away. Like, up into including fucking radioactive materials and shit like that. Like, tons of different carcinogens. There's one fucking chemical we used to use, funnily enough, for finger paint. And I used to work as a paint blender in a fucking paint factory at one point, like actually mixing the paint from base powders and fucking stuff like that.
Yeah.
And fucking there's what was it? Preventol. No, it was either ASE 60 or Preventol. Can't remember. It must have been the ASE 60 because that was the powder. Anyway, it was pretty much most of the components of Zyklon B, and we're putting it in finger paint.
I still actively spray paint without respiration PPE, and I still actively resin 3D print without respiration PPE. Sometimes even without gloves. Which is a big no-no because the resin is a photopolymer. And Farty, what happens when a photopolymer is exposed to skin?
Bonds, doesn't it?
It bonds. And then do you know what else happens?
Well, yeah, fun getting it off.
No, it comes off fine. But what happens is it bonds to a cellular level, and
it gets right and shit too, yeah.
And you become allergic to it almost instantaneously.
Well, yeah, it's a foreign object. That's the normal body's response to it.
Yeah. And it becomes such an allergen to your body instantly that even the first time touching it without wearing proper PPE, And this is um, kind of where I've just like, I don't know. I personally, when I say, a person like Ted Lasso doesn't give up, I've personally given up. Um, just a lot of shit because of the shit that I went through as a kid, and it just seems like every year something new happens to just kind of beat me down more and more. And I'm not optimistic. I'm not an optimist. I Everything sucks. All right. So I don't want anyone to have any illusion about that. And like some of my happiest times were just felt like setups to being bigger fucking life kicking me in the ball moments.
Mm.
Um and so I don't have any hope for any fucking thing. Okay? I'm not being, a Debbie Downer or being depressing. That's just my worldview. That's just the way I see the world right now, and that's just the way things have always been for me. And I'm
Mm.
not gonna sugarcoat it anymore. I'm not gonna try and hide it from anyone anymore. I'm tired. I'm too tired to pretend that I'm someone I'm not anymore. Um, but back to what I was saying about the resin is that it provokes such a strong response that the first time you have a reaction, like the first time you touch it, you can have a reaction to it, and that reaction is lifelong, and it
Mm.
actually increases in severity with every subsequent exposure. To the point where even if you come within a foot or two of the stuff, and I've seen it happen, where if you come within a foot or two or stuff, where where you're within a certain radius where those fumes are radiating, your skin is actually like sniffing it, quote
Yeah.
unquote, and those fumes are hitting your skin and causing the reaction to take place.
Mm.
So yeah, I've gone full on, like, to the point where, like you, how the fuck am I still alive?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't have a reason to care until someone gives me a reason to care. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the point of view of quite a lot of fucking blokes in this, and this is sort of part and parcel of like the position we're in the world. Because it was always the same 1914, 1939, same thing.
Yeah.
Tons of black guys with nothing else better to do.
Yeah.
So they'll have a world war and we'll go work it out of our fucking systems and then
You
maybe have
know,
another 70 years of not having global war.
hopefully. I had a thought the other day. In like I've spoken about, my disability keeping me from the military. I wonder if our military's standards are so lax now that even that black mark, even that blacklist that says do not enlist, um on my medical records and whatever bullshit the military does here, to ensure, like, whatever records they have on their end, like, okay, don't let this asshole join, um because that is on my records now. Do not you know allow enlistment or whatever. I forget what the exact wording on it is, but it's something to that effect. Because I tried to get into the Air Force, right? So I'm wondering now if the standards are so fucking lax. I can just walk in and be like, yeah, you can be a pilot, sure. I wanted to be a
I don't,
pilot when I was 17. Huh?
I don't know about being a pilot, but yeah, the way I'm hearing things out of the US military at the moment, they're taking all the fucking the woke nut jobs and fucking wackos and all that kind of shit. So if it's a mental issue that they've knocked you back on, they'll probably fucking accept you now.
Yeah, probably.
But then
My
on top of that, the Australian Army has been forced to do this too. And this started, well over 10 years ago.
re-enlisting, right? You guys been re-enlisting? You guys have been re-enlisting, right?
Oh, well, I haven't re-enlisted since I left.
No, not
It's
you. I'm
fucking,
just saying the military's been allowing re-enlisting up to like what 50 in Australia.
in some cases, yeah, and that comes into where I'm going with next. So one of the drivers at First Fleet, he did this, and basically he was like fucking 47, something like that, like 3 years off from the cutoff.
Mm.
He wasn't as fit as anybody else or anything like that, and like he'd never passed basic for a fucking infantry soldier or anything, But basically, they needed other ancillary jobs, and well, he had a truck license, and he basically got a DEO fucking for being a truck driver.
Mm.
And he wasn't expected to do all the other stuff, just drive trucks.
Yeah.
But that sort of goes against our defence policy, where you were a soldier first and then you trade later. So if you're a truck driver, you're actually a proper infantry soldier, but you just drive trucks.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. Yeah, like every member of the army is actually combat trained. It's just that they normally would do jobs that don't put them into combat. But if, say, the shit hit the fan and, like, the base got attacked or something like that, well, they can't pick up a gun and be proficient with it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised, too, if they would be that fucking desperate with the US military at the moment, because they quite literally are. They probably would take you and put you in some, like, ancillary job, like as a fucking orderly room clerk or something like that, just fucking pushing papers around a desk.
Oh shit, dude! I'd love to fucking be a fucking. I'd love to sit in the fucking armory and just be like, "Yep, you can check this out. No, you can't check this out. Why not? Well, it's a 40-millimeter grenade, and you're a dumb piece of shit. You do the math." But yeah, like
Usually,
I was
an asshole if you insult him. It's kind of the case of, you might be a fucking colonel or something like that, but if you piss the Q corporal off, you're walking with no boots on.
Yeah. You guys are doing conscription again, aren't you?
They're looking into it.
Because they're talking about conscription here, and I'm in love with the idea.
Yeah. With that, I'll probably pick fucking cunt straight out of fucking high school. Like, I probably won't even look at you.
You're 17? Yeah, come on in.
Yeah. What was fucking funny is...
We'll say you're 18.
What was fucking funny is that, the whole... Well, we're thinking about introducing or reintroducing national service, and all the fucking shields are like, fuck you, man. And they go, well, you cunts are going too. Huh?
Oh, you're talking the draft, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be open for females as well in America, and all the fucking shields like, no! But you guys wanted to be men.
Yeah. Oh, it's just hilarious because now a lot of them are just like, wait, that's the law? Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, I'm not a man, I'm not a man, I'm not a man, I'm not a man, I'm a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a woman.
I'm going to put the gingham dress on, I'm going to go and do the dishes and all this kind of stuff. You just go off to work and I'll just be here and clean house.
Yeah. So, I think
very attractive.
What's that?
A stepfoot wife is very attractive at the moment.
Yeah. Gee. You mean being a stay-at-home mom and having all it, and then the guy going and, oh, you mean that's empowering women? That's letting women do whatever the fuck they want? Huh. Gee.
Yeah. Yeah, they go running around in their 20s, spreading their legs for every Uncle Charlie they can fucking find, and then they wonder after they've been run through by every fucking dude in a major city, and no cunt wants to fucking touch them anymore.
Yeah.
And they wonder why. Because we took away the stigma of being a slut.
Yeah. We did that in the fucking 60s.
Yeah, just took the stigma away from being sluts, and then you get underage pregnancies and fucking pervasive venereal diseases, and then you got fucking through the 80s and shit where they normalised divorce, so fucking now marriages don't last anything longer than 2 to 5 fucking years.
Yep.
And they basically told all the Sheilas that blokes are just fucking cash cows, that you got to marry, and the conditions are you marry them, you put up with their shit for 2 years, and then you fucking take half their crap. and hopefully get the fuck out of Dodge before he realises he's been had and comes back and commits a bit of domestic violence.
Yeah.
And then everybody, bloke, like, you're a complete cunt, you fucking smacked the woman, and, like, he doesn't get a rebuttal, where he says, yeah, but she's just fucking pissed off with half my shit. Which, that should be a response of, like, oh, well, give her one for me, then.
Yeah.
As you were, give her one for me.
We've gone on quite a bit of a tangent, huh? Thank you, Ted Lasso. I think we'll finish up that topic with thank you, Ted Lasso, for being such an inspiration. See, that what we did there was basically the entirety of Ted Lasso. We stayed on topic for a good while, and then it all fell to shit in the last 20 minutes. Sorry, last 40 minutes. Last 40 minutes. Oh, God. We got 40 minutes out of Ted Lasso, and then here I was just thinking it'd be, a quick before we get into the meat of the thing. So I guess we're getting into the meat of the thing. Are you ready, Farty?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Okay, I can pinpoint exactly where everything went off the rails, and that is when I said that I was hungry, and that I wanted a corned beef sandwich.
And I want a mac and cheese.
Yeah, American mac and cheese. I'll get some stuff together and try and send you something.
Yeah, so the only company that ever did mac and cheese out here well was Boston Market, and they're not here anymore.
Yeah, they went out of business here, all over the world. Yeah. So, should we show the audience?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
We should subject them to the fucking punishment. Fuck them.
Let me bring this up here. Okay. So, as you all know, I have been working on a game, and I have all of the stuff. If you want to play the game, all of the stuff except for the 3D models that I've been working really hard on.
You said hard.
Oh my god. You said doo-doo earlier too, so, we're even. All of the stuff I have been working on model-wise is you can get all the models, $5 from my Patreon store, Weapons of Mass Dysfunction. Okay? There's a Patreon store. There's, I'm posting at least once a week right now. That can go up or down depending on how much traction shit gets and how creative I feel like being. But right now, I've been posting short stories about, oh my god, where the fuck did it go? Short stories about this world that I'm building for my game. And there's free stuff. You can get all the rules. That's the point I was trying to make. You can get all the rules and shit to learn, to play this game for free on my Discord server for the game. The link to that is going to be on the Patreon, but it is Weapons of Mass Dysfunction on patreon.com if you want to check it out. Now, one of the things that I have been doing, and if I can get this up on the thing, give me a second here. Properties, Blender, here we go. One of the things I've been working on the last couple of days is this tank, and it's on the stream, Farty. I don't have it on StreamYard because I can't be fucked to do it. But I'm showing this to the audience because we were going to talk about this little tank that I'm making here. Grab Z, grab Y, get the wheel in place, make it look like it kind of belongs there. And then Farty, you said you had thoughts that you wanted to share. You said there were nothing bad, you just wanted to share. Even if you had criticisms, I'd still want to hear it, because, I still kind of want it to be,
Okay. it's a future tank, and you're actually at a point now where you can do some fairly predictive stuff with the technology that we've currently got.
Right.
Now, with the just first off, with the turret,
Yes.
have a look at the turret. Okay, so there's not much stuff on top, which you kind of have to have because there's
Right,
like
there's
the gun.
instruments and stuff that need to be there. I haven't gotten that far yet. It still needs a
Well, actually,
lot
it's
of
more the
detail
fact-
work.
Yeah, it's more the factor that the breech needs to be allowed to raise for the barrel to depress.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to fire down on something, the breech of the gun still needs room inside the turret to depress. The elevation you could do with that. That's all right. You know, is that the breech then goes into the hull of the tank.
Right.
But, you can afford to make that turret a little bit taller and make it a bit more believable when you're firing down because you've got a very, very steep front glacis there, which
There's
would get
something
you a
about
lot of gun suppression.
Some about there, Farty, or a little bit more?
Um,
Because you got to remember, this is going to be this right here is the base it's going to sit on. It's 5 centimeters wide. So that's in American. That's what, 2 inches.
Oh yeah, I'm watching this with lag. So hang on, it's just coming up to the part where you've moved the turret. It's the actual roof part itself.
Oh yeah, no, that's going to get more stuff added to it. That's just kind of like the footprint. That's just kind of the area for me to work with within the confines of like the shape.
Okay, and then there's another question. Exactly.
Yes.
With tanks, right? There's 3 premises to a tank. There's protection, firepower, and mobility. So you got armor, which creates weight.
Right.
Your firepower, the bigger the gun, the heavier it's going to be, and your mobility. The more powerful the engine, the more weight you're going to be able to move fast and all this kind of stuff. But you typically want to keep your tanks around about the 60-ton mark. That's their maximum.
Right.
And that's a NATO doctrine because all the bridges in Europe are only rated to about 60 tons.
Right.
It's a bit irrelevant nowadays because with the upgrade packages on the Challengers and the Abrams, so like the Set V4 package, basically puts it at 75 tons. And the fully loaded Abrams, I think, is about 65 tons or something like that. So they're pretty overweight.
The silhouette, just the actual, like, when I go into this view, when I go into this view, the actual silhouette, the profile, is actually taken from the T-72.
Yeah.
But
well, these are coming from later models of T-series tanks too. So there's the T90 BV and the T90 T80 M has a lot of these newer features that I'll be going into. So it is based off that similar design anyway.
Right. I was merely just letting you know. I didn't know if it would make any difference or not.
Oh, actually, it does. Because that does work with the type of profile. And then the other thing that you need to worry about after the triad is pretty much what you're going to use the tank for.
Right.
Like exactly what kind of war are you fighting? Now, going back to the triad, you want to keep the gun at a certain size. You want to keep the armor at a certain weight, and like the engine you want's going to be powerful, but you need to have a lot of fuel economy because tanks just do nothing but suck fucking fuel.
Yeah.
Right. Even is an 8-hour tank if it's sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah. And I do have plans on adding the fuel canisters in the back here, so like it does need a whole lot more detail, and
So Russian tanks have their fuel tanks exposed.
Yeah, on the rear here. That's what this shelf is for.
They get. Okay.
That's why I designed a shelf on the body of the tank toward the back here.
The reason why they have their tanks on the outside is if you puncture them and they catch fire, well, the fuel's going to spew out of the tank, not into a compartment.
Yeah, and not fuck the guys up on the inside.
Yeah. But that also means that, your fuel tanks are very fucking vulnerable when you can get a fuel fucking quick because someone put the correct side of the vehicle. one way of getting around the whole weight thing is the dispersal of armor. And typically, the way that usually goes is the most of your armor is on the front, your sides are protected by a moderate amount of armor, and there's basically fuck all on the back. And a lot of the times, your engine is supposed to be counted as armor.
Yeah.
So that was the old way of looking at it. Now, if you have a look at the turret again, and say go, I don't know, about halfway out from the barrel. So about halfway from the side of the turret to the barrel, and just chop that off either side. Because what the Russians wanted to do is the T-14 Armata.
Okay.
Is their new tank. And it was supposed to have a new revolutionary gun. I think they went away with it because it was a larger caliber, and they've just realised that like 110 millimeter guns perfectly fucking adequate for just about anything you're going to be.
This cannon right here, the actual barrel part, I designed like specifically to the T-72 thermal sleeve.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about operation for this tank? Like, cause I just wanted a big tank to put onto a, like, not just like, here's my design thing, right? My design dilemma, if you will. It has to fit on a 50 millimeter base. It has to fit on a 2-inch wide base, and it has to be to scale with the rest of the models. The models right now, these buildings are 1/234 scale. So these are 234 times smaller than an actual what is it, 7-story building? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-story building. It's 234 times smaller than a 10-story building. And that's where, and that is only because this was modeled first. This thing right here, this abomination of a model, was done first. Let me go ahead and highlight just that in orange so everyone can see. That was done first. This was the first model I made, and I'm actually really proud of it. Even if I'm not using it in my game, I'm still proud of it. Now, I modeled this first, and then, zoomed out too far. And then I modeled this building. And I initially only modeled the building for scale, but then I'm like, you know what? I may as well use it as a train piece, right? Something as a line of sight blocking for the game. And so, you know, I built a bigger one, and then I built this very weird roadblock, pillbox barricade thing. All that aside, it had to fit within that scale. And I'm like, okay, what can I fit a lot of detail into that isn't exactly going to, like, be obscured by its small size? Because this is just the body of the tank is 27, we'll say 28 millimeters wide. So it's a little over an inch wide. So I had to, so the design language has to be in line with the scaling of everything. So what is a good way of doing that? The best way of doing that in my brain pouch is called my skull a brain pouch. I don't know why I did that. The best option for me was to find one of the larger in production or in use tanks. And so it took a lot of research to figure out what would be the most appropriate. And then I discovered that there was this giant mega tank that was like fucking the size of a football field that Germany had designed,
Rat.
but they never fucking produced.
Yeah, the Rat.
Yeah, and then
It's supposed to have a battleship's turret on it.
Yeah.
It's supposed to have the fucking for the spare turrets from the turpits on it.
And I saw pictures of it. I'm like, man, that would be really fucking cool. Oh wait, it's the size of a fucking football field.
Yeah.
I'm being a little hyperbolic there, but it is.
Secondary. On the front for secondary, they had 2 turrets from fucking 2 bloody pans of 3s.
Yeah, and it never left the drawing board apparently. But holy shit, I'm looking at pictures of this thing. I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool to model, but holy shit, it's big, and it's not gonna fit in the scale of the thing. So I wanted to make a tank for the game just to kind of add some gameplay variety. And so that was my design philosophy. It was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna get an American tank. American tanks are kind of small, and a lot of detail is gonna be lost in that. So let me model it after something a little bit bigger. Well, what's the biggest? Again, the biggest tank that is currently in use right now. T-72 is one of the biggest tanks there is in use.
Not really.
Not
Russian tanks are really fucking small.
Are they
Actually,
really?
they're tiny.
Oh.
This is where we're going to like, what are you actually using it for in a minute? But in answer to your question, the barrel sleeves, the thermal barrel sleeves on gun barrels do 2 things. One, they hide the thermal signature of the barrel if it starts firing a lot, it gets too hot. But secondly, it also improves the accuracy of the barrel.
Right. By keeping the barrel from expanding when the shell fires, because the actual like rings that go around it or however it's done. I haven't done that much research, but apparently the rings that go around it act like the bands on a water tower because of all the pressure of the water in a water tower actually has an effect on the water tower itself. And to mitigate that, they use these metal bands at varying positions. So like you can see how much water it's capable of holding by how many band sections there are. So like at the very top there's one band section that has just one band. At the and toward the middle there's a band section that is 2 bands, and then there's 3 bands. And so the barrel is the thermal sleeve is supposed to act like that banding to keep the barrel from expanding as the shell ejects.
Sort of, kind of, yes and no. Yeah, it does have a lot to do with barrel expansion. However, it's like quite counterintuitive once it's explained to you. Kind of like, oh, yeah, actually, duh. So it's mainly European tanks that have barrel sleeves, and that's got a lot to do with the amount of times it rains. So if you've got a hot barrel that's being rained, the top part of the barrel is going to be cooler, which means it's going to be shorter, and the bottom part of the barrel is going to be hotter. It's going to be expanded, so it's going to be longer. So you'll actually have a banana barrel.
Yeah.
And the sleeve is supposed to heat the barrel up evenly, so the barrel stays straight.
Oh, okay. So it's more like an annealing process then that has to be constantly going on.
Yeah, effectively, and then has a side effect masking your heat signature as well.
Oh, shit, that's really cool. So here's the context of everything going on in the game, right? In the pre-war time, these tanks are going to be dug up. They're going to be salvaged. They're going to be put back into production for protection of these people who are going out to like reclaim some of the shit that's been going on. Or reclaim a lot of the materials, right? So the story of the game is, I don't know if I've ever told you. Have I told you the story of the game?
No.
Okay, so here's the story. I'll try to keep it brief, but like not skimp on the details. So here's the story. There's this company that they figure out this really, really strong, really light, really, really useful metal. And they want to use it in a variety of applications, and they want to corner the market on it. They want to patent it, and they want to just stranglehold everything, right? And so they go out and they build this mech right here using this material and using a special hang on, let me get this in picture here. They go out and make this mech, and just so here. Oh, okay, that didn't work. I'm sorry. They make this mech here, and they make it as an alternative because they're preparing for an illegal operation to secure mines across the planet, to just basically hoard resources. Now they're going all in on this shit. They're doing every shady thing they can do to get these resources so they can keep making this metal. But they eventually get one-track mined, and they ramp up production of this particular mech, and they start dropping it into strategic, zones to stop people from getting to and from these mines and, scare people out. They're running this black flag operation, this false flag stuff, like, oh, well, they're doing it. No, they're doing it. And that's it. They're driven by these unrealized profits that this metal material can make them. And what ends up happening is they trigger an international war. And so the international war is this whole big deal that really comes to a head with, everyone shooting off their nukes and hydrogen bombs just raining out of the sky like fucking Pez at a fat person convention, right? And society obviously collapse, and so people are like left to fucking scurry out of the big cities, and after X amount of time, when the radiation starts, subsiding from the fallout. I think the fallout is somewhere in the neighborhood of, like, for hydrogen weapons, somewhere in the neighborhood of, like, when it starts to, become not as bad, is like 60 to 70 years or something, and within 90 years to 100 years, the area starts to become a little more livable again.
Mainly for if it's a ground burst.
Yeah.
Typically using nuclear and air burst, though, specifically so you don't irradiate the shit out of everywhere. Because the mechanics of that, like radiation, with a ground burst, is that it's literally sucking shit up and pulling it through the reaction and through the cloud and whatnot. Whereas an air burst, when you do it high enough, you'll still get the blast damage and effect and all this kind of stuff, but you won't have all that material being sucked up eyeball and getting irradiated. Well,
in this scenario, these countries aren't going for, the countries that are retaliating against the United States, and they're not retaliating to make it less war crime. They're retaliating to fucking stop, you fucking prick. And so these bombs are actually hitting the ground, and they're actually wiping out like large swaths of city, and the radiation zones are kind of like limited in that scope, where they're not as, like, the actual radiation effect isn't as widespread, and it's more like if you go to middle of New York, right? Times Square is a big smoking crater. That's the kind of like retaliation that's been seen. So that's like kind of where I'm already putting my headspace in. Like, within 100-year span, everyone is moving on and they're starting to collect these materials. And then there's like a really big burst in so from between 2040 something, I forget what the year I'd written down was, like between 2040 something in 2132, there's been this rise and fall of the radiation, and people are just like charging ahead, right? They've developed these new technologies to help them like get into these zones, to help them like mitigate more of the radiation faster. They've, by making new suits and new everything. So just because the world ended, so to speak, doesn't mean that a lot of the the progress that we were making ended. Like a lot of shit got, and this is in line with some of the stuff that I've done other research on, is that Australia doesn't get hit by these nukes because Australia was never targeted by anyone. No one gives a fuck about Australia in this universe, and B, Australia never joined. They basically told the rest of the world to go fuck themselves.
Well, historically, in reality, we're not a nuclear target because we
Right.
don't officially have nuclear weapons. However, now we're back in a Cold War with Russia. I noticed that there's a B-52 now sitting up in Darwin again. And the way that used to work back in the Cold War was that, yeah, there was a nuke sitting in the middle, in the belly of that fucking thing, probably more than one.
Yeah.
But it's not officially based here. It's passing through. It just happens to take 6 months for it to finally pass through.
Yeah.
And then when it passes through, another one shows up and takes 6 months to pass through. But they're not officially based here. So that's how we can have a nuclear strike, but without actually having nukes.
Yeah.
And not nuke ourselves.
And it's not officially on Australian soil. It's officially on American soil.
No, it's at fucking. It's sitting up at Darwin. I can't remember what the airbase is, but.
Oh, there's no American base in Darwin?
Nope.
Oh,
and not
I thought
even
there was.
American base anymmore. It's a joint user facility now.
Oh. So it's basically just a civilian.
Oh no! It's still fucking like
Is it?
you've got clearance and shit to get in there, and it's pretty
Okay.
fucking hard to get a job there and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like it used to be. Pine Gap used to be sort of supposed to have been American soil on Australian territory, but no, it wasn't. And fucking, they're doing secret shit in there that we don't know. We've got fucking ASIO and ASIS and the defense signals. Fucking bloody, what's it called? Fucking. Anyway, bloody. Yeah, we've got all of our guys in there working with them and all this kind of shit. If you listen to fucking the Friendly Geordies, they'll have you believe that like we're launching fucking nukes out of Pine Gap that are somehow circumnavigating the world and hitting fucking Gaza. Like, not even any weapons in sight. Only security guards.
I'm sorry, that was hilarious to me.
I know.
But yeah.
That's why it was fucking funny when I heard it too.
So at any rate, for one reason or another, Australia is not targeted. So a lot of people migrate to Australia. Australia, and I'm gonna write. There is some story I do have planned writing this. Is that Australia becomes like in the center of the fucking country where all that fucking desert is and shit. It becomes like a massive hub for like the people who are escaping the fucking fallout. And
Well, you could actually write in that when they showed up, all the locals just went, no, get the fuck out the back. Yeah, you can go to the fucking back and then learn how to fucking be humans, and then you can come back into the city. So
that's essentially the idea. That's essentially the plan. Yeah. Like all of these people are rushing in, and the Australian government has had enough of the whole. I'm gonna be writing this in, and I really hope it doesn't sound dumb when I write it, but like a part of the idea is Australia's had all these bad experiences with foreigners coming in, like even Americans coming in, like I've seen some shit show horror stories of Americans like moving to Australia, like that one lady who's like, oh my god, you can't say the word oldie or you'll go to jail in America. Go fuck yourself.
Eric fucking Andre come out here a bloody week ago and he's like, oh, they're racist in Melbourne. I'll go get fucked, you mediocre fucking comedian.
Yeah. So like even all that, like, so the Australian government has had all these really bad experiences with foreigners entering the country and either seeking asylum or residence, and basically the idea is no, go fuck yourself, you can go live in the desert, and that's basically what happens. And so
Well, that's effectively how we are now.
yeah.
And it's effectively how we've been for about 10 years now, because fucking we had all these fucking migrant problems and shit fucking 10 years ago. Like, we were the first cunts to cop it. And, like, yes, we fucking ummed and ahed and fucked around and all this, but it was mainly the Labor Party that was umming and ahhing and fucking around, because while they were umming and ahhing and fucking around, all of these migrants were being let in and they were getting new voters, which is exactly what's happening with you guys right now. And then fucking, was it Tony Abbott gets in, who's Liberal, which is our version of Republicans, and he's just like, nah, fucking stop the boats. None of them are coming here. Every single boat's getting turned back to Indonesia. And if you want to scuttle your boat, we've got these big fucking life rafts with motors in them we're going to ship you off to fucking Indonesia with. And they're unsinkable, so fuck you.
Yeah. So again, that's essentially what's going on in this story.
Well, the instant fucking we did that, like, no shit, the next day, like the very next day, when they realised, nah, the Aussies aren't fucking around anymore, they were going across the Med. They were fucking crossing the Mediterranean up in the southern Europe. And then the Europeans and shit were going, you fucking racist Australian cunts, why aren't you letting these poor little hard-done boys in? And we're like, because they're not poor little hard-done boys, you fucking stupid cunts. Like, no, they are, and you're not very nice, and motherfucker, we're dealing with them. You don't know shit. You gotta let them in. You fucking want them. You fucking have them.
Yeah.
So now there was all this bullshit with when they go across the Med and they're making beelines into places like Sweden and stuff like that, when they could just fucking prop in Italy or fucking southern France or something. No, they're going into all these other places because the whole point was to get all these males of fighting age into these fucking weak-ass European countries so they can cause distension and shit in the place. And look at what's fucking happened. They had some dumb bitch fucking reporter going to a migrant camp, and she's all like, I'm going to report on these poor little precious little angels. And it's like nothing but dudes of fighting age. They punch fuck out of the cameraman. They rape the fucking reporter and then fuck her off out of the camp. Anyway, so now the Europeans are all like, oh shit, well, we don't like all these migrant cunts. And then the next thing you know, they're coming across the Mexican border once Camel Toe says don't come. And then she leaves the fucking door open.
Yeah,
And then you guys are like calling the Europeans a bunch of cunts and fucking, and the Aussies a bunch of cunts going, well, can't you let them in? You know, where the fucking, you know, come with your poor and your fucking downtrodden and all this. Like, no, trust me, cunts, you don't want this fucking shit. And yeah, well, you're now finding out we were right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the whole isolationist stance that Australia takes. I wanted to preserve, because it just didn't seem realistic to be like, oh, well, you know, where is everyone going to go? What's going to happen? Well, Australia's not a nuclear target. We'll just send everyone to Australia. And
however, as for isolationism, us being part of the Quad and Five Eyes and all this kind of stuff, we're the big player in the South Pacific.
Yeah.
And this was going to be a thing up until fucking Potato took over, but it was basically we were going to use our connections with like America, Europe, Britain, especially with Britain and the EU, for a lot of smaller developing Asian countries to sort of use us as like it's a bit fucking disingenuous to say it now because, like, you know, with the labour rights in there, a bunch of fucks and they'll just fucking screw everybody over. But fucking we were supposed to be the fair mediator in the area, so the cunts wouldn't get screwed over, and they'd go through us and we'd make sure it's fair, but we'd probably fuck them over as well. So yeah, we're supposed to be the monkeys that fucking control, well, not control, but sort of bloody administer this end of the fucking gene pool. But now you've got other countries that are like, yeah, now like Vietnam's now siding with Russia and China. So I think Cambodia is doing the same. Fucking Thailand's already fucking siding with China. And all that. So we're losing our grasp on all of these cunts and like our sort of centralized mini hegemony out here is already fucking gone, but no one realizes it yet.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put this up on the stream again for everyone to see. Here's a little shitty person that I modeled. When I started doing all of the things. And this is I did raise the top of the turret by about double what it was. And you're right, that does look like, because I was wondering if it looked too. What's that?
Share me screen for a sec.
Oh, share it on the screen. Okay, hang on. Share your screen?
Yeah, I've got another. There we go.
Yeah. Let me get that on. Hang on. Let me get that on stream here. Boop. Properties. There. Okay, let's go look at this.
Okay, so that's the Striker MGS, right? It's the main gun, or it's mobile. Effectively, what it is, it's an Abrams gun. It's basically just on the outside of an APC.
Yeah.
It worked very well. There's a lot of stability issues and stuff like that with the Striker, and I always seen it firing broadside and thinking, fuck, that thing's going to tip over. Like, it's literally going to shoot itself over on the opposite side. But you can see here, right, how effectively it's the naked gun. Yeah. There's hardly armor around it or anything like that. And if you can see where the pivot point is, you should be able to identify that.
Yeah, okay. It took a second after you moved your mouse, but yeah, I can kind of see where that joint is.
You can see that. Yeah, so that's your pivot point, right? And you're breaching all that shit. It's an auto loader, so part of this is the reloading system. But all of that stuff's got to go in the turret. Now, if your barrel comes down, that part comes up.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going with the gun depression thing.
Oh, yeah. So I did take that into consideration. Hang on, let me switch back for everyone else to see. And then, because I still have to do some details, but I did take that into consideration. So let me go ahead and share it with you. Window, Blender. Okay, share. All right, so back here, I do have a breach, like the start of where the breach goes. And this little tail, this butt plug or whatever, coming off the end of it is where the breach goes. Now I do realize that it's at a different angle from where the cannon is, and that's gonna need some creativity in modeling there, but I kind of wanted to give it. So, like, I don't know what other tanks are shaped like this, because I didn't really do a whole lot of research. I just wanted, a quick answer to start designing. But a whole, let me go ahead and move this whole turret thing. The actual profile of the tank, when you look at it head on, is rounded.
Yeah.
Like, it's got a very, like, I would say aerodynamic feel to it.
Well, more like a Lynx kind of a feel, where it's more sort of beveled edges,
Yeah. But the idea was to go after something with, like, with the spirit of something that's slightly aerodynamic, something that, hugs the ground, something that kind of, like, is good and spread out, that is believable, and maybe help its stealthier profile.
Yeah. Share my screen again.
Share your screen again. Okay, hang on. We're sharing the screen. Hang on, let me get it on the thing. I swear I can do this. Okay.
Okay, so it's...
Oh, that's way boxier than I was going for, but yeah, I can see the beveled edge on the side there, yeah.
Yeah, this actually I'm thinking of. I'm fucking sure it's now the Redback I'm thinking of. But there's one that's got like really beveled edges. I'm sure it's a Swedish vehicle.
See, initially I was gonna go with a super boxy design, but then I'm like, this thing, is this thing is in active service, 10 years from now. It's already off the drawing board. It's in production, and it's in service 10 years from now. And the links kind of gives me that. Scroll up a little bit. So like right there, that one link's on the left there. I know they're both the same tank there, but like the coloring on that, I know it's the same paint, but no, the darker one.
Right, yeah.
So the darker one, it really gives me the shape, and the coloring really gives me that idea of just being like a stealthy, like old school stealthy kind of like shape and design. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if the boxy design is just, I equate that with stealth because of like the fuck's it called?
F-117.
Thank you. And other similar like very angular jets.
A lot of Swedish naval vessels do have the angular design for stealth.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But that's also a very, very ancient sort of premise with radar deflection and all that kind of stuff. You notice the F-35 and the F-22 Raptor.
Oh my!
Very,
look
very
at that ambulance tank. I love that.
Yeah. You see the picture next to it with the two armored fighting vehicles and the APC in the middle.
Yeah.
The one in the middle is what I used to use. Right sometimes.
Why do I see Farty using that to roll through a McDonald's drive-through?
Because it'd be something I would have loved to have done if I was allowed to.
Yeah.
And if it would fucking drive through.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to drive weapons platforms through civilian areas.
Well, you can. Yeah, like absolutely you can. It's just that like an M113.
Oh, it's not allowed here in the States. In the States, that's considered a war crime. Oh, I love that tiny one without the turret above the ambulance.
Yeah, that's another M113.
Is that really?
I think it might be one of the South American mods.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Some of them, like the one two over to the left, and you see how there's like sort of comes down and there's like that step at the front.
Yeah.
A lot of M113 operators did modifications like that. They'd put that one at the front, and if you have a look at that camo one you're looking at initially, the one with the cursor on it, they've actually some countries have actually sort of taken some of that corner armor off and sort of made an angular edge and put fucking gun ports on it, like on the M2 Bradley, or the original M2 Bradley anyway. Yeah. They can fire out the side from back here.
I'm looking at these, and like, aside from the one tank that I settled on for the overall design, these are very simplistic looking. There's like hardly nothing to them, and that's by design, isn't it? That's just like, here's a box with armor plates.
Yep. And effectively, the outer surface of these things, if they only realistically need to have the detail on them to put applique armor and stuff, like additional plates and...
okay. So that's what I was seeing in the design document I was using for the blueprint document I was using for my reference material, was actually an armor kit that was put on. Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Look at that shit. Holy hell.
Have a look and see that this part here...
Yeah, it's separate.
Very thick. So I'd suggest that this entire side here is applique armor, or it's about that thick.
And that's all solid metal, right?
It'd be aluminium, which has the added benefit of if you do get an RPG penetration in the crew compartment, the burning aluminium creates cyanide gas, which kills everybody.
Fun. Your government loves you. Now go die in this tank. I really like that Lynx, man. I keep coming back to that shape of that Lynx's gun.
Yeah, that's another innovation of a thermal sleeve, that.
Is it really? Wow. I might have to do some like Lynx style tanks for this too, because I do want to do a couple of different tanks. And so, like I said, the concept.
The Lynx is what you call a fighting vehicle, right? Now, the difference with an armored fighting vehicle is that they usually have a giant fucking gun on it, which is like a 25mm Bushmaster usually. So that check one there, that's got, I think it's a 40mm autocannon. But this fella over here, the M113, that's a battle tactic. The only thing that this thing is designed to do is to provide a little bit of fire support while it runs blokes right up the front line, deploys them, and then fucks off again.
Yeah, I remember that one in Girls in Panzer, and it just kept getting fucked up in like every battle.
Well, that'd be the Porsche Tiger. The Porsche Tiger 2. They had this diesel electric drive kind of thing that was just complicated, kept breaking down.
Yeah. I'm saying like the M114 in Girls in Panzer was always getting shot down.
Anyway, with an IFV, the difference is this thing is actually supposed to stay like go up to the front line, deploy troops, stay with them, and provide fire support on movement.
Yeah, scroll up a little bit, or scroll down a little bit so they're in frame a little bit better. There you go. Right there. Nope. Yep, that's good. That's good. Perfect.
Over here, where the cursor is, in this little picture here, this little box on the side here.
Yeah, the middle one.
That's quite typical. And this one, and if we go back up here to where the M2 Bradley was, we'll see a couple more. Another example on.
Yeah. Well, that's a really boxy turret. I can't say I'm a fan of that.
Well, that's a pair of tow missiles.
Wait a second. Hang on. Hang on. Let me... How do I... Hang on. Okay. Click on the picture, will you? Oh, shit, look at that. Yeah. Okay. I couldn't see it.
It actually swings up and sort of side. That flap folds down and there's 2 tow missiles in there.
Yeah.
So these are even designed to sort of take on tanks to a certain extent.
Why do they call them tow missiles? I never understood that. Is it an acronym, or is it because like they're actually designed to like pull?
It's tank optical wire guided.
Okay, so it is an acronym. Okay. Wire guided. Oh, right, because they probably have to have a camera system on board, huh?
There is
for the missile. I mean, they have to have a camera. Like it has to be it's a camera guided missile, right? So the wire has to actually
at the back of the missile.
Yeah.
You got the targeting system, and effectively you basically just keep the dot on the target. And you can actually move in flight, and all this is why it's got wire guidance. So if the tank's moving along a road, you just keep the dot on him while he's moving along the road, and the missile will go to where the dot is. And it's the wires that telling the missile where to go. And part of the reason they did that in that way is because you can't jam these things. There's no active seeker that you can scramble. There's no if you can physically see it with your eyes, you can hit the target, and there's nothing they can do about it except for try and move out of the road. And that's where the wires come in. That gives it the missile the signal that can't be sort of interrupted or jammed or whatnot.
Yeah.
And you can steer them around corners and stuff, and you got to be fucking around with them for a little bit there. But, that missile is actually quite outdated. It's like a late 60s, early 70s era missile, and they've basically replaced them with javelins and things of that
So essentially, it's the tow missile is a pun. Essentially, it's
Yeah.
the weapon equivalent of a pun because yes, it is on a string essentially, and I'm using a string or a rope or whatever as an analogy there, and so it could look like if you hit something with it, um, and maybe it doesn't detonate, maybe it just gets lodged in the armor, and maybe it does look like you're towing it.
Uh,
Oh my god! All right.
there's a version of it called a cornet, which operates exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Right. So if I go back to the MGS, the point I was trying to make for a while.
Yeah, I keep sidetracking you.
Yeah, with your armor around the turret,
Mm-hmm.
is the reason why the gun's exposed, because it's just a gun there. It doesn't matter if that gets hit. You can put a little bit of armor on that and then save a fuck ton of weight. Now, in the T14, it's still got a crew of 3, but they sit side by side up the front.
There's a crew of 5 in the 72 and the 78, right?
T72 had a crew of 3, I think.
3.
Yeah, the Russians really don't like putting too many people in tanks, and they really love their auto loaders.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the theory of this is that all you really need to do is armor the fuck out of the meat compartment, fuck the rest of it.
Yeah.
All your auto loader and everything to do with the gun, that's all automated and stuff like that. And you have your crew in this very, very well protected armored box that doesn't weigh 60 tons. It only weighs like 20 something tons. And the whole vehicle can be well under 30 tons and basically carry the same firepower as a main battle tank. So in future weapons, and this is another thing with the T14, is that they went with that, they did an armored shell on it, but they have like an automated self-loading gun with the crew up front.
Dum-dum? Sorry, I couldn't help it. Have you ever heard anyone refer to the inside of a tank as a fridge? Because I have, and I never understood until you said meat box.
Yes. Well, meat box or meat compartment. It's basically where you put the people.
Yeah.
The fridge side of things, I'm only just suggesting because I was never a fucking sardine. But I've heard many tankers over the years describe the conditions inside of a tank in various places. So when it's freezing fucking cold outside, it is freezing fucking cold in the tank. It is stinking fucking hot outside. It is stinking fucking hot inside the tank.
My dad, when he served during the final days of Vietnam, and he was on gunboats in the Marines, but there were a few occasions where he'd have to go into a tank, and I don't understand. I don't know why they went into tanks during Vietnam. That's here nor there. Only because I don't know enough about what happened in Vietnam that I never took the time to learn about what happened, because I never really had any sense of like people get drawn into certain military conflicts, and that was not one of them that interested me at all. I was more interested in like the hardware, especially the planes. But my dad would always talk about, whenever he did talk about being in a tank, he would always talk about being in a fucking refrigerator.
Oh, that'd probably be just the big metal box, because I wouldn't imagine it'd be fucking cold in the tank in Vietnam. But in answer to your question on that, the jungle warfare in tanks was a sort of a new concept at this point, and the Americans went into Vietnam just thinking, we'll just run through the fucking jungle with tanks just pushing trees over, and well, basically that didn't work out very well, and pretty much it's worse than putting a tank in an urban environment. Its movement is insanely restricted. They're fucking basically giant sitting ducks. They can't swing the gun around far enough or fast enough. They can't see shit. They're effectively fucking useless, and they don't push over trees very well. But But they still deployed M48s and M60 tanks to Vietnam, and in some cases they do provide some fire support. We sent over a bunch of Centurions to cover the base at that, and we were using them more as in place direct fire weapons. So, like, if some can't run up along the fence, we could shoot them with a cannon instead of a fucking machine gun.
Yeah.
Or we could shoot them with a cannon and a bunch of machine guns as well.
Yeah. So yeah, you've given me a lot to consider when I do put more kit onto that tank, because it does need to be far more detailed than it already is. It's just kind of plain looking, and while it might be accurate to leave it as is, with maybe a few exceptions to the turret, it still needs a certain level of like stuff on it. Yeah.
Yep. And well, okay. Top of the turret, gunner sight.
Yeah. Okay.
Multi-spectrum, fucking thermal night viz, and
bunch of different cameras and sensors and shit on it, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Day and night through fog, fucking all that shit. And I'm pretty sure there is a secondary unit just below it on the front. So that could actually, the top one could be your commanders, and down below could be the gunners. And if you have multiples of the top site, that does happen on various different vehicles where there's multiple sighting systems, so that multiple crew members can look in multiple directions. So effectively, you can have someone sort of covering the right 45-degree arc, someone covering the direct front, and someone covering the left 45-degree arc, and you've got full vision in that forward.
Yeah, and then you've got that little driver's window there.
Yeah. There are a lot of other tanks, they don't really have those sighting systems, and typically Russian tanks, the older versions don't really have.
Look at that M113 and a half.
Yeah, because it's that fucking modded version, and they've chopped the front off it.
But the turret housing there, it's just basically what, a machine gun with a little dome on it.
It's a cupola, and that's just so
so they can see out.
Bit to see through the vision blocks, but he's actually got to pop the turret and get out to fire the machine gun.
Yeah.
Get half out the turret.
Well, that's what you want when you're in a battlefield situation, is leaving the safety of the inside of your metal box.
Well, see, back in the day, that was perfectly fine. Like World War II and
I suppose that's a good. I suppose that's a good counter argument. And now it's just suicide.
Well, by Vietnam, they were putting fucking gun shields and stuff in front of the machine guns.
The second you pop that hood and you stick your head out, here's a sniper.
Nowadays, probably, yeah. Back in those days, like even like World War I, World War II, like lots of countries thought snipers were fucking cowards and stuff like that, and they were really frowned upon. They were trying to deter them from being a thing. So
and they're still treated like shit in video games. Like, no, dude. Sniping in a fucking video game is a fucking skill, dude. And if you're gonna bitch about people camping and sniping you, then get better.
Okay, so here's what I was talking about, multiple sighting systems. So there's a secondary there, and that'll be your main sight that you can slot and whatnot. And in occasions too, this particular sight here, if you're, say, looking out directly to the left and you see something, you put your crosshairs on it, push a button, and the turret will automatically swing around, fucking lay down on what you're targeting. Most tanks will do that.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of shit to consider when I do finally start dialing up this tank. Like I want to add some of like this front armor on this UN tank here, the big patch of front armor there.
Yeah.
I want to do stuff like that. I want to put windows on it.
Right. Attention to this.
Oh, the little rockets.
Like these square panels, and the
little grenade launchers.
For want of a better term, yeah. That's part of what's called an active protection system, and tanks and stuff are coming out now with like little radars and stuff. That's what these green square panels are. They're phased array. ASA radar systems, like little tiny versions of them.
Oh wow! Yeah, because
And
your tech always, as it progresses, gets smaller and smaller.
yeah, uh, so yeah, this is like a smaller version of what's on an R.L. Burke class destroyer, their air defense radar, and effectively that will detect like an RPG round coming in, and it'll launch one of these countermeasures at it.
Ooh, fun.
These
There we
was
go. Now
another
we can
photo.
see more of the screen better. Yeah, that's not bad. That I you've given me a lot to think about um in terms of what to add to this model because it's gonna need more detailing. It's gonna need more greebling. I don't know if I want to put like a visible exhaust on it because it's just so tiny. I might end up doing. I love that fucking. That's one of those fucking. Oh man, I love that gun there, that's sitting on the side. That is a gun, isn't it? It not a gun, but like a projectile launcher of sorts on the side there.
With this thing.
No, up there. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the munitions launcher.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
and
rotates. If I'm not mistaken, it rotates as it fires.
I'm not entirely sure about this one.
But there are versions of it that do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think this one might just have fixed trajectories and like the munitions are just enough to sort of cover the
It looks
areas in
like
between.
there's barrels all the way around it, though. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So these things here, they're another
Yeah.
um, sensor detector kind of system that would activate your countermeasure unit there.
Mm.
And in actual fact,
Yeah, that helps me quite a bit. So now I just have to figure out what detailing I'm going to add because I don't want to overload it either. So maybe I need to figure out a type of role for that tank. What do you think would be a good role for that tank? Because they're only going to get one weapon each. Each of these tanks is only going to get one weapon on them. They're going to be kind of glass cannons. They're not going to have as much armor as the robots do for obvious reasons, for scaling reasons. Um, but they are gonna be like, oh, hey, here's a round that does X amount of damage, and it does more damage than the weapons do on the Big Macs, but these things are squishier, so they can get away with a lot more.
you watching the video?
What video?
The one I'm hopefully sharing screen with at the moment.
Um, I don't see any video.
Hang on. Sharing that fucking screen. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on.
Hang on.
Wait. Wait.
Twait.
Wait. 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 Wait.
Twait.
Wait.
Twait. Holy shit! How have we been going for 2.5 hours already?
We have. Okay. Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. This was my fuck up. Okay. So
It was your fuck up.
sharing that.
Hang on. Here we go. Add to stage. Let me. All right.
Here's a basic demonstration of a typical active protection system.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's gonna shoot down the rocket as it comes in. I gotcha.
Yes.
Oh.
But this happens almost at the blink of an eye too.
Yeah. Oh, and it doesn't. Wait. Is that shrapnel or is that?
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, everything was shrapnel.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it would have been the fuck's it called? They call it combat glitter sometimes. The fuck's it called?
Chaff.
That's it. Thank you. Shit, it was on the
Yeah,
tip of my
that-
tongue and I couldn't fucking spit it out.
Yeah, these things don't have chaff. Okay, so here you've got a demonstration again. There's
The chaff wouldn't have helped in that situation, would it?
Okay?
The chaff wouldn't have helped in that situation, would it? Not unless it intercepted it way the fuck further out.
Well, chaff's designed as a radar reflector, and effectively it's supposed to just basically dazzle the the signal coming back. So instead of it being like one pinpoint of a bomber,
Yeah.
it's a shit fucking static all over the joint.
Yeah. That's
that
why
only
it
works
wouldn't have been effective unless it was shot far, unless the whatever projectile the tank shot out was further away and not.
to the point of that the thing that was portrayed in this particular video was an RPG rocket, which does
Right.
not have any guidance system on it at all. So you can throw as much chaff and laser dazzlers and shit as long because it's a dumb weapon. But if it was like a radar guided weapon, then yeah, chaff would absolutely be effective. As a
Oh, would it really?
weapon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because that's exactly what chaff is used for. Like when like aerial combat and whatnot, if like your bar goes off or your radar warning receiver goes off, that means that some cunt's behind you and they're painting you with the radar.
Yeah.
You just start chaff and flares. You know, they call them countermeasures. So you just drop your countermeasures, which is flares and chaff, and it'll do both things. It'll send off a heat signature somewhere away from the plane, plus it'll also send a radar reflection back from the plane. So hopefully the missile will go for that instead of your plane. But nowadays, a lot of these heat-seeking infrared type missiles don't just see a heat plume; they'll actually like see the entire heat signature of the aircraft and actually be able to detect.
Oh, and there's even in production. I was reading. There's even in production right now, or at least they're doing research right now. That a lot of these newer projectiles, some of these newer missiles, have machine learning capability on them, and they're reading not just the heat signature, not just the infrared stuff that's coming off of it, but they're also like seeing, like with machine vision. They're using cameras to like see the actual target, and they're matching that, and they're calling home being the plane that it was shot from, and matching that with the target designation that the pilot is seeing with cameras and shit in the pilot's helmet, in the pilot's and in their heads up display and shit. That's some next level shit right there. And
even then, it's vastly more superior than that. Like the missiles can actually determine from a heat signature what type of aircraft it is too.
Yeah.
So like every aircraft type has a very different heat signature. So like an F-14 with 2 engines, you're going to have two certain specific hotspots, whereas an F-35 will have one.
I'm also reading
in very specific shapes as well.
Well, yeah, I'm also reading that most of what they're doing with the machine learning and machine vision in these weapons, in these really ordnance. Well, I guess they are weapons now. They're self-contained weapons now. But what I'm reading now is there's a friend or foe detection system on them as well, and that's the craziest part to me. If you have a missile,
IFF.
huh?
Yeah, no, IFF's not out of the ordinary.
Well, no, it's not out of the ordinary, but a missile being able to determine whether it's a friendly or not, and then navigating around the friendly to hit the non-friendly behind it. That's some shit right there.
Yeah, well,
I know that's the way it's going. I know that's where we're headed. It's just crazy to me.
Well, it has even progressed even further than that. And this was something that we kind of didn't really want to happen, but fucking it happened anyways because China cunts.
Yeah.
But we didn't want drones to have the decision to kill. Like, the consensus was we always wanted someone to be in the loop to pull the trigger. Like a human.
Right.
But fucking China's gone and put AI into some of their drones and shit like that, so they'll send out these hunter-killer drones that will actually be able to determine from a heat signature the difference between a human, a dog, a kangaroo, and a horse, and all this kind of shit, and the difference between a tank and a house. Now, this explains the Bilyatmobiles, the Russian tanks that are running around Ukraine at the moment, giant fucking frames over that just look like a barn with a gun sticking out the front of it. And the whole point of that is that it looks like a house and not a tank, and these drones are being fooled.
Wow.
Sometimes it's that, but yeah, it'll get better.
Yeah. So, um, we're gonna move on to the next topic because we're going a little long today. And
Hang on.
I do need to get something to eat soon. So I don't want to power through these topics, but I do want to get to them. Um, I am considering all of that extra shit for the guns and shit, and I'm learning a lot more. Like every time, Farty, every time we stream, I learn something, and my brain
Yeah.
is just too fucking tiny to handle it.
You,
But
watch this. You watch this real quick.
watch what? What?
Oh, fuck's sake.
Hang on. Go ahead and start it over.
On the fucking stream, John. Okay.
Start it over. Quit being a pussy. Oh man, that's beautiful. And that's what it actually looks like.
Yep. And as you'll see, it doesn't actually hit the RPG. It'll get near it and detonate next to it. And that's basically how most missiles actually do work.
Yeah.
It works with proximity fuse. They just need to get close
something
enough
like a
for
torpedo, though. A torpedo is actually going to hit something, whereas the missile.
Nowadays, torpedoes are programmed to go under the keel and detonate directly below the ship. That snaps the brake at the back, fucks the ship completely. Or it used to actually have to physically hit the side of the thing, and that actually fucked up the Yanks during World War II because they had these certain type of detonator that was just really fucking faulty, and a lot of subs actually got lost because of the torpedoes either just didn't work, they ran too deep, or they ran too shallow, or they just didn't fucking run at all. But those ones actually had to hit the side of the ship, and an easy way around that, especially for battleships, is just to put giant fucking blisters on the side. So, they hit this blister and it'd be just an empty void that the explosion would go into it before it actually hits the side of the actual ship itself.
Yeah.
An easy torpedo.
Yeah, that's crazy. So we're gonna move on now, and not because I don't want to talk about it anymore. Just like I said, there's other stuff going on. So this game came out about a week ago. It's called Dustborn. Finally getting around to this topic. And when we're looking at Dustborn, there's some oddities going on here, right? There's an 83 all-time player peak. And I refreshed the page. This page has been open for the last 2.5 hours, you guys. So I refreshed the page. It was 17 players when we started the stream. It is now 27 players. The playership does not look great for this game. There are 90 positive reviews, 27 negative reviews, which seems like a lot for something that maybe wasn't purchased very much. Let's see. There's 2 bundles that you can get for it, and then there is the base game. Okay, so the Vision Tour. Okay. So I thought we could go look at some of the reviews. What do you think, Farty? I don't want to make fun of it or anything. I just want to kind of see what's going on with it. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. That's an apostrophe. It's an apostrophe, you guys.
What's an apostrophe?
Dustborn.
Sounds like a euphemism.
Oh, Christ. Oh, there are more than... Okay. So 1, 2... Oh, there's a demo? Oh, my God. Oh, I got it. No, I'm not going to do it. 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 Why is there... You know what? I don't care. Let's go to the reviews. Reviews. Mostly positive. 92 reviews. I'm enjoying the game so far. Love how the dialogue system works and how much detail there is. The whole experience feels really like a road trip, and the characters are fun to hang out with. One thing I found weird, though, is how they refer to themselves as refugees and outcasts while being affluent and in no immediate danger. Aside from the trouble they created for themselves, it comes off a little tone deaf. Okay, here's a negative review. Post 2.5 hours in game. Okay, I was really looking forward to this game, and the wait was long. I have loved other games Red Thread has made, so I got excited about this game. I am beyond disappointed. I am myself part of the queer community, and this game feels almost like a parody on everything that is queer. This game makes a point out of everything to be political correct, to the point it feels mocking. The story seems interesting and game mechanics okay, but I cannot torture myself through it. Oh, and also,
Otherwise, this thing had a home truth given to it with this game.
oh yeah, you just smacked in the face by what you really are.
This looks parody. It looks like you're taking the piss. No, that's what you actually look like, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's also an abundance of cliches like, why make a point out of the fat person being the one obsessed over food? If they really wanted to make this game enlightening, oh how they failed. They should have made the characters more real, authentic, and nuanced, and not a stereotype. It's a big note from me. Go play Dreamfall. I don't know what that is. I don't really care.
Well, they did that. They made it like what they can't fucking wanted to be right at the end. No one would want to buy it because in the game it'd just be full of fucking detestable assholes.
Yeah. Um, I'm writing this while the thoughts are still hot in my head. I genuinely think this game is trying to do good, and you can feel the passion of the team everywhere. The representation is great, and I think they had a blast writing it, and that's why I'm giving it a thumbs up. We need more games like that. But, because there is a but, it's a choice-based game, and I've been through several occurrences where it didn't really feel like the game was forcing my hand to do things I really didn't want to do for story's sake. Oh, where it felt like the game was forcing. Okay, I read that wrong. My bad. I did reload a bunch of times to see if I was missing things, to do say things differently, but no. They clearly did a good job about feeling bad when you use your power, and they feel bad every time. So I really have mixed feelings, and I think I'll have a hard time continue. Sadly. Um, Here's another negative review. These people hate each other. They are not nice to anyone. It's like the writers decided, hey, instead of nice character moments and asides, let's just scream at every single choice made because they are there. Excuse me, because there are no right choices for everyone, right? No, right, guys. At the end of the day, the game becomes more fun to play by attempting to do the worst thing you can because the characters are always going to be upset or hurt. So might as well go big or go home. My favorite thing so far has been the unnecessary trauma dumping and selfish reactions during situations where common sense and life preservation instincts would normally kick in. As for actual gameplay, it's like a slower Telltale game mixed with a bad Guitar Hero knockoff minigame, peppered with a couple of instances of combat that attempts to utilize a sort of Skyrim dragon shout that triggers people, but it's useless. Literally, you can just win by pressing X over and over. It should... Huh?
So it is fucking effectively bloody Borderlands.
Yeah, effectively. It should be noted in this review that my friend gave this game to me as a torture gift, and I gotta say, it's akin to digital waterboarding. Bravo, soup. I don't want to read any more of these reviews because the ones that are praising it,
Fucking loons.
No, the ones that are praising it, they're not. I don't think they're coming from a place of genuine.
Oh, it's got pussy, yay! Yeah,
Yeah.
but what else do you know about the game? It's got puffs in it. Yeah, but what about the rest of the game? It's got puffs in it. So that's all you care about. It's got puffs in it.
Yeah.
Puffs in it.
I really don't see the point in reading any more of these reviews. The only thing I can understand from what I've seen of this, and I've seen a little bit more than Farty has, is that the game itself is cancel culture, the video game. And
And
there's
that's like,
like,
it's fuck.
yeah, and I really don't, I really, I don't get why people enjoy it. Maybe they enjoy it. Like one of them said, diversity was the reason they love the game so much. That's not a trait of a game. That isn't the that is not a game's trait. That doesn't do anything. Like it just happens to be a thing.
This kind of sounds like if it's sort of like fucking. Oh, that other game, I just fucking can't remember it. I mentioned it a dozen bloody times already.
Borderlands.
You know, it's fucking. I reckon that this game's kind of like Borderlands. It really does sound like they took Borderlands, they replaced the story with some woke fucking bullshit, and basically left the game the same.
Yeah.
Because effectively, Borderlands is one of those ones where the combat scenes is like just smash X, and then it goes to the next like smash X and something like that.
Yeah, it
Can't
doesn't
remember.
feel like very rewarding gameplay. And that's what
No,
I look for when I look for a game. I want there to be rewarding gameplay. I want to feel like I'm having a good time. I want to actually have. I don't want to feel like I'm having. I want to have a good time. I want to enjoy
yeah,
what I'm playing, and I can't enjoy what I'm playing if it's just gonna cram messaging down my throat, or if it's gonna be really dumb gameplay loop. Like
yeah,
I'll step in and play Elite Dangerous for a few hours once in a while, but I can only play it for a few hours once in a while because the gameplay loop is repetitive and boring. You know. But that being said, let's take a look at this other game, Concord. It's apparently a colorful first person hero shooter. Um, and
Speaking of a
yes,
fun fact for you, or actually a slight English lesson for you, the aircraft, the Concord, you never say the Concord because there's not only one of them, there's multiples of them, and the correct definition in English is to simply call it Concord.
yeah, unless you're talking about the plane.
No, that's it. Yeah, you're talking about the plane. You don't say the Concord, you just call it Concord.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or when you're talking about an agreement, that's a Concord.
yeah, that'll also explain the suburb I used to live in Sydney called Concord. Their actual fucking emblem is two hands shaking. Now I've just fucking learnt that.
Yeah.
Another bit of information I bet you never needed to know is that, Whoopi Goldberg's real name's Karen. That explains a hell of a lot.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Another information I bet you never needed to know is, when high jumpers do that sort of backwards sort of, flop over the bar, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a term. That's actually like there's an actual word for that fucking maneuver, and it's called the Fosbury flop. And it was named after a bloke called Richard Fosbury.
Uh-huh.
And they missed a fucking mad joke out of that one because instead of calling it the Fosbury flop, they always could have called it the Dick flop.
They could have. Couldn't they?
Yeah,
So let's get into some of these reviews on Concord, shall we? I know I'm reining farty in today. I know I'm doing it. I'm doing such a good job of wrangling the fartard. But that's only because Farty does such a good job of not wrangling himself. Do you want to read some negative reviews or do you want me to read some positive reviews?
do the positive ones first, because fucking
All
the
right.
negative ones will just came away too fast. Well, they'll be about cringy as shit too.
Okay. So here's a positive review. 6.5 hours on record. 3.4 hours at review time. The characters are ugly, yes, but the actual gameplay is crisp and fun. I don't ever watch the intro or the cutscenes. It's really cringe and whatnot. Besides that, the more I play, the more I understand, the more fun. Maybe I don't. Maybe don't price it for $40 and people would be more willing to try it out. It's a 5v5 hero shooter, and there are plenty of hero shooters on the market that are free that people are more willing to, overlook its flaws because it's free. You have Overwatch, you have games like Apex Legends, you have games like the fuck is it called? Valorant, and there's Paladins is another one. Paladins, I sunk a lot of time into Paladins. Um, in fact, I sunk more time into Paladins when it first came out than because I really wanted to play Overwatch, but I couldn't afford it at the time. I was like dead broke and couldn't afford any games. Hey, sort of like now. This is back in like 2015, 2016. And then um yeah, I started playing Paladins. I put like maybe 100 hours into Paladins before I started playing Overwatch. Um That's crazy. But they're definitely games that do first person and or do hero shooters that are, I wouldn't say more fun, but definitely more what's the word? More how did that are more engineered, I guess, that are more polished, that are, you know what? I don't know the fuck I'm trying to say, so I'm just gonna move on. Um,
Bit of,
what's that?
bit of craftsmanship, bit of fit and finish.
Yeah, there you go. Um, Here's another positive review. I'm kind of saddened by how things have gone. I agree with some of the community sentiment, but I'm mostly of an age where ugly characters and weird design choices don't really affect me as much as it seems to affect others. Now, I'm going to pause this review here for a second. A lot of these people are going after the models look bad and this and that, the other thing. Um, Compelling characters, attractive models are what draw people to a game, right? When you look at games, and there was something I wanted to talk about a little bit earlier on, and it's been stuck in my head the whole time, and it was while we were talking about Ted Lasso, and while we were talking about the Marvel stuff, and while we were not talking about the Marvel stuff, but when we made comparisons to Marvel, and when Desture in the chat um did go out of his way to mention that these the writers in these shows don't allow silence to speak, right? They don't allow things to just be the way they are. Um, and yes, I do
Yeah, they
have.
fucking bloody Paul Feig's Ghostbusters. So it was like everything had to be in there all at once. You can't have a quiet moment. You all got to be speaking all the
Yeah.
time.
So I was that it made me really reflect on something I had recently watched. Now there's this show on YouTube that this channel called Glitch produced. I guess they wrote it and they designed all the characters and they did all the production for this show, and it's not a bad looking show. I would give it a B minus, a C plus, right? It gets a passing grade. Um, but the biggest issue I have with it is the characters never shut the fuck up, and it's always trying to carry comedy in a moments of tension. In the moments of tension, and it's like, come on, fucking stop. This is not the appropriate time to crack a fucking joke about, you know, maybe being an idiot. Okay? It there's a time and a place. Crack that joke when you're not in fucking mortal danger. Um, but overall, it's an okay show. And I have to give it. I have to I feel like I have to give it some sort of pass on some level because it's not a fucking Disney movie. Um,
Hmm.
Again, Murder Jones is the title. So if you feel like looking it up, farting, and you feel like watching something in your spare time that's completely fucking dumb, yeah, there you go. It is good. Shut my brain off and just watch type of deal. I don't think it's like anything groundbreaking, but the characters never shut up. Um, so yeah, back to the review. For what it's worth, the game itself is actually really fun. Character kits are nice to play with. Gunplay is crisp and has potential for cool plays. I have the more I have played and understand the kits, the more I am enjoying the time. See, this just seems like a carbon copy of the first one I read, doesn't it? The more I played, the more I have fun. The more I played, the more I have fun. This feels like a botted like review. Here's another one. It's not a bad game. It's being more of a shooter is what makes it stand out for me. It's not trying to be Overwatch, nor does it play like it. Okay, it's real interesting that
Yeah.
they'd make a call out to Overwatch. It plays a little bit more like a slower Destiny PvP experience. It didn't require a grind, were more were more team oriented. What? What are you trying to say there? Gunplay is solid. Ability takes skill to use, and all the characters are viable when it comes to damage. No ult. That's because the devs wanted you to use actual skill to wipe a team, not push one key and done. High time to kill, so teamwork is key. It flows really well when the team is in sync. Yeah, okay, so this is maybe not using the same words, but it is definitely parroting what the previous two reviews have said. Honestly, fun game. Game is very ugly, but it is very fun. Plus, casual, old school fun. Log in, level up, earn stuff, no battle pass or FOMO. Okay. Again, that's what, 4 reviews in a row, Farty? That have all parroted the same. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun.
Well, the thing sort of occurs to me is that these people are worried about ugly characters. Jesus Christ, I'd love to have seen their attitudes when Abe's Exodus and Oddworld came out.
Oh Christ, yeah. And the
Yeah.
character looked completely different in game than he did on the box because fucking PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even on the PC version, that happened.
What's that?
Even on the PC version, that happened.
Yeah. Well, because the PC version was just a port of the PlayStation version. They didn't bother converting the models. They just packed it all for PC. Um, Here's another review. Here's a negative review. Social pandering and game budget aside, the game fundamentally just doesn't have an edge in the hero shooter space because it takes zero risk and therefore really isn't that fun. It does nothing new, and Sony played it so ridiculously safe. There's really no reason to play this over any other hero shooter. Sure, graphically it looks great, and I quite like the overall aesthetic, not the characters, but a primary reason, if not the main reason it will fail, is because they've tried to put their own spin or their own edge on the hero shooter genre at all. How can anyone recommend a game that's just good in a space that has titles that pretty much perfected the genre at this point? To think of the smaller indie titles that could have been made with this budget that would have at least tried something original. Okay, so that's a fair criticism. It's not an original game. And this is a lot of what I was seeing is that it's not an original game, that other shooters are in fact doing better things or doing more, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Doing more inventive and more imaginative things, right? Here's another one. Do not waste your money. This game is basically Dead or Alive with like 500 active players on Steam, and it's not doing much better on PlayStation either. It has crossplay, so you can get in-game fairly quickly, at least for now, but they will never ever make a single penny off this product, and chances are Sony will pull the plug and shut the servers down in a couple months. Now, this game had a $140 million budget, and in the time of this stream, it's only made, I want to say, 180 million. So it's only made a profit of $40 million for Sony.
Poor fucking Sony. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, they decided to go all woke. They decided to shut down. They shut down Sony Japan. They shut down PlayStation Japan to produce this game. Is what I'm hearing.
That kind of sounds like fucking shooting yourself in your face to spite your fucking big toe.
Yeah.
You got rid of isn't Sony's like head office in fucking Japan? Isn't that a Japanese company?
Yeah, they're a Japanese company, but PlayStation Japan was shut down. So a Japanese division of a Japanese company shut down to divert resources to an American division, which is now headquartered in California. That's the key takeaway, is that the headquarters is now in California.
Yeah, they killed their brains, but because all the fucking cunts that knew shit were in Japan.
Yeah.
All the fucking stupid execs that were just dumb fucks who get paid to sit around and shit fucking are all Americans.
Yeah.
And they've effectively lobotomized themselves to fucking keep the fucking rest of the corpse going.
Yeah. I think in a year or two, Sony is going to start really reevaluating their headquarters for PlayStation and really evaluating what they export to the West. I think this is going to be not the sign, but a sign they take. I'm going to continue with the article or the review now. Gameplays wise, it's actually not bad, but it doesn't really bring anything new to the table. Just another Overwatch clone. It has hands down the worst character designs I've ever seen in any game. This game has been absolutely ruined by woke devs who openly hate the vast majority of gaming community. Pretty much every single one of them has rainbow flags pronouns and the classic "opinions are my own" in their bio. That should tell you everything you need to know. Even the in-game text fonts are rainbow colored. It's just forced down your throat and very unnecessarily gay. Oh my god, I love that. DEI slop for modern audience, pushing the far-left LGBT agenda. If you desperately want to play an inferior, gayer version of Overwatch, you can play Overwatch 2. At least it's free and has an actual active community. Oh, wow. I think that gives us a good idea, right?
Pretty half-assed by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of it.
Kind of sounds like they just copied and pasted another game.
Yeah. Here's one that seems interesting. Shall we read this one before we head out for the day?
Yeah.
Despite what the anti-woke crowd wants you to believe, the reason this game is failing is because it's an uninteresting, buy-to-play 5v5 hero shooter without a hook, released to a world in which the best games in the genre are free-to-play. This game is more akin to Lawbreakers than Overwatch, for better or worse. The visuals play a part in the sour reception of this game, but the game severely lacks a reason to keep coming back for more. I like this anti-woke thing, as though it is coming from someone who is woke. Lack of gameplay modes is a cardinal sin. At launch, you've got your team deathmatch game modes, area game control modes, and no respawn game modes. 2 variations in each. Um, in TDM, some characters feel near useless, particularly the tanks. They are slow, clunky, and have no actual objective to anchor themselves around. Similarly, healers are quite underpowered in this game mode as well. Area control mode makes you feel like you're playing a discount Call of Duty and doesn't last long enough. Most game modes are frustrating one-sided matches that end in mere minutes. The best game mode, their no respawn mode, named Rivalry, is the least played, sometimes leading to queue times of over 7 minutes for me. In this mode, the game's classic balance and unique mechanics actually have time to shine. Too bad the tiny community isn't supporting it. Deployables persisting between rounds and even character changes is a really interesting concept. So, like, when you, as an aside here for the role, it's like the engineer in Team Fortress. That was another free-to-play hero shooter. Team Fortress, he deploys a turret, and the turret just shoots and shoots and shoots. If it sees a bad guy, it shoots the bad guy. So that's an instance of a deployable in a hero shooter. And apparently they stay active as long as that game is going. Interesting. The role buff system that rewards you for swapping between character roles leads to interesting, although I worry shallow, decision making when choosing characters. The currently underutilized crew system that limits your character selection also has potential, but that's just it. This all has potential that isn't fully realized in a fully released game. It almost seems like, Farty, that you might want to finish your product before rushing it out the door. It's clear the Concord devs held back content for the sake of trickle releasing it over the coming months. The problem is they failed to captivate an audience out of the gate, so the product feels incomplete and is just one more issue to throw onto the pile of disappointment. Concord isn't a terrible game, but it has done very little to entice people to play it. Characters are fun to play, but lack game modes to really shine in. With a divisive visual style and a lack of a defining game mode, Concord fails to lure in an audience, and I'm not sure it can recover at this point. Multiplayer games live and die by their player base, and let's just say there almost isn't a player base for Concord. Weren't you just saying that the characters, like, am I crazy? That it says that the characters don't really feel that rewarding to play? I'm paraphrasing, but that's what I could have swore I fucking read just, 3 paragraphs ago, because am I crazy, Farty? Am I losing it?
Well, it does sound as half-assed to the point that all the characters would basically be carbon copy, so there wouldn't be any variation, like a mage, a fucking dwarf, fucking bloody barbarian or something like that. They all sound like they're just the same fucking thing with different skins.
Yeah. I guess the big takeaway is that these games are failing for one reason or another. And it is due primarily to people rushing the product or, not actually giving two shits about what the final product is actually going to mean after release, what kind of attention it's going to draw. We saw with Dustborn that it basically sounds like, in Farty's estimation, it basically sounds like a really, really bad, and from the reviews that we read, that it just sounds like a bad carbon copy of things that have done, other genres better. Dustborn tried to cram too much shit into it, and on top of it, crammed in the woke bullshit. Concord didn't try enough and crammed in the woke bullshit. So I guess the common denominator is the woke bullshit.
I'm wondering a slightly different theory, and that's with intergenerational things, and fucking the young cunts come along and they get an idea and they think, oh yeah, we figured this out, and then they find out that like, yeah, we figured this shit out decades ago. We've been doing it for fucking years.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So remember back in the early '80s when they had the computer games crash, the whole thing.
I wasn't alive in the early. Oh, I mean, 83 is when I was born. Farty, you got to remember, I'm 5 years younger than you, buddy. You got some time on me. But I do remember hearing about it. I do remember reading about it. The video game crash.
Part of the problem was that there was so many fucking third-party developers out there that they were releasing just any old fucking shit. And Nintendo really fucking hated that because there was no quality control and there was no nothing. And some of the things that were actually happening was that they were intentionally just releasing fucking broken, incomplete, or non-existent games. Like sometimes you go to a fucking, like an actual reputable store to buy an actual fucking reputable game. You go home and it's a blank cassette. Because they just didn't bother putting the fucking game on.
Yeah.
You can pay fucking $40 for the cassette. Yeah, have fun getting your $40 back.
I was watching a video the other day. This guy called James's channel. He does a lot of like retro video game stuff and a lot of like just like he does weird shit. Okay, he crammed a PlayStation into a Super Nintendo shell. That's kind of weird shit he does.
Did he ever do an old fucking front-loading Nintendo into a toaster?
No, he didn't do that.
Okay, so he didn't do the AVGN's one.
No. I don't know who did AVGN's toaster, but he and these are some of the jankiest fucking things that exist. Ravage, you can wait 10 minutes. And these are some of the jankiest that he like. His most recent project that he did was he cut up a bunch of Game Boy shells and fused a Game Boy to an old like handheld CRT. And covered the dangerous bits with Game Boy shell parts that he chopped up. And so now he has a Game Boy that runs on a CRT that drains the fucking 4 AA's that it takes to run it, or the 6 AA, I forget how many it takes. But it like the stock number of AA's it takes gets eaten up in like 2 minutes. So he does janky shit like this, but he was talking about some of the like reasons why the video game industry crashed, and he was talking about this game called Bowling for his Atari. I think it was like the 2600 or something like that, but it was one of his Atari decks that he was playing on, and he like puts the cartridge in. He's explaining that when the video game market crashed, it was because people were just releasing whatever bullshit, and it goes back to what you were saying. They were just releasing whatever bullshit, and the games oftentimes were just bad.
Oh yeah, not even like just bad. Like there were, like you had the really shitty fucking compilation discs that were like the barest of minimum, like a screen background, one sprite moving across the screen, and you're basically moving another sprite to sort of intercept it. There's zero fucking actual mechanics in the game, and it's like they stick 60 of these things on a fucking disc and sell it for $4.50, and parents who don't know any better go, 50 games for $4? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and the real problem was that you couldn't play a demo of the game. You didn't see what was on the backs of the games. You didn't see any screens.
They were the worst. Like there was no effort put into them whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like fucking AVGN did a video on exactly that, and like there's Action 52. He did the review on that one, but there were other ones out there that were exactly the same. It was just like a whole bunch of fucking really, really fucking completely basic, like one-liner code games. Most of them weren't even operable. Like the hitboxes and fucking places where you got to land on and all this. Some of them didn't even exist, so you got to cross the first gap and then you basically just fall through the scenery on the other side. And but like there was even like reputable box games. Like there's the famous one is the Apache gunship, and this came in this big red box with a fucking big fucking picture of an Apache fucking pointing at you. Came with big booklets and shit. Basically, how I learned fucking Russian military vehicles because it had like all the lists of all the different types of armored vehicles and shit the Russians were using.
Yeah.
Yeah, you basically never get past the setup screen where you set it up, you load up the helicopter and all this, and then you click to go and enter the battle, and that's where the game ends. And I always thought it was because the Commodore 64 was a piece of shit and it just didn't work properly. But I found out fucking decade later, no, it was released like that. It was released unfinished on purpose, and no one gave two putney fucks. Because when you get home and you find out the cunt doesn't work, well, what are you going to do? You're going to go fucking try and get your money back? And I'm wondering, so getting to sort of my initial point, I'm wondering if some young fuckwit who's only been born in the last 20 years has come along and like, oh, I got this fucking mad trick. No cunt's going to see this because no one's ever done it before. And like, we're all just like, we did back in the 80s, asshole. Like, don't bung this fucking shit on. We didn't like it the first time. We really fucking don't want it now.
Yeah.
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 So I'm wondering if it was released intentionally unfinished because the producers couldn't give two shits. They just want your pennies.
Yeah. Because that's the way it went. And this is just history repeating itself, I think. And I think we're due for another video game crash. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter.
I don't think so nowadays because there's like the rest of the consoles have kind of got their shit together in line with similar to Nintendo, where like you can't play fucking PlayStation games on an Xbox and vice versa, and even like the old say Sony discs had that fucking dark tint to them, so I don't exactly know why. I think it was just more like authentication or something like that. It was a real Sony. But like, so there's so many fucking reputable platforms out there.
Yeah.
And there's so many actual reputable, really good, decent games. And
well, I think Sony in general is on its way out the door for video game. And that's just because of a bunch of other shit, and we can probably talk about that next week.
But like an actual full-on crash, I can't see that ever happening again because there's just too much options, too much variety, too much reputation, all that kind of stuff that no one's fucking
I'm of
with
a different mindset because I don't think anything is ever too big to fail. But it might not. I don't know. Maybe it might not happen the way I'm thinking it might. Maybe I'm just being a doomsayer.
Well, Sony will probably collapse. Like like one or two of the actual production companies might actually collapse. Who's the cunts that do fucking I think it was fucking not CS:GO, fucking one of those Counter-Strike fucking companies
like
now
Call of Duty
doesn't like shit.
Like Call of Duty?
Might have been.
Okay.
Yeah, like they even at one point had like a mannequin done up in all like the proper
that was
gear
Call
and
of
shit.
Duty.
The cops fucking got called because they thought there was like some fucking doodle in tactical gear with a rifle in the fucking foyer or something like that. Yeah, that company's like full on. We don't like guns anymore. We're not doing any more shoot 'em up games and stuff.
Yeah.
And pretty much the community just went, well, sorry to see you go, but yeah, bye bye. So you might have a couple of production companies fall off here and there, and maybe a couple of really big ones, but your Microsofts, your Nintendos, they're not.
Well, you also got to remember Sega never really recovered either. Sega's now a distant memory, even though it's owned by Nintendo, right? Even though the Sega licensing is owned by Nintendo now, it's still a distant memory. When was the last time you saw a Sonic game that wasn't on Steam?
True.
Oh, shit. All right,
That
we gotta wrap this up. I gotta get some food in me. I'm starting to get like lightheaded and shit, and my cat needs out. So, join us Saturday on Kick for the new home of It's Garbage. Hey, you got anything to add, Farty?
maybe.